Hey, are you ever going to start this podcast you've been talking about for like forever?
Do you think that anyone will actually want to listen to something like this?
What is your plan for an introduction?
Are you sure you want to talk about these topics? People usually disagree.
3 hours? Are you crazy?
Do you think you're some kind of expert or something?
Are you planning to have an intro song?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
Do you even know how to make a podcast?
Are you just doing this because you like to argue with people?
Don't let this be just one more thing that you talk about doing, but never actually do.
Wouldn't it be better to do just one episode for each topic?
Stop trying to change people's opinions. Just live your own life.
Dude, people are never going to agree. Just let it go.
Is this going to be a long intro? Because if it is, I'm bored already.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've been enjoying this podcast and gathering something important from it. I would love to hear from you. If you have any comments, good or bad, please contact me at whycan'twetalaboutThat@proton.me. We've also started a Facebook group where these conversations can continue. So if you heard something in an episode that you want to comment on or would like it further explained, search for the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast Facebook group and ask to be a member. Thanks. Today my guest is Elizabeth Valdovinos. She is someone that I didn't really know very much about at the start, but I had a good time getting to know her better during our discussion. At 20, she is also the youngest guest I've had so far on this podcast, which made the music segment very interesting, as she turned me on to many bands that I have never even heard of before. On this episode, we discussed the music of The Smiths, Tender, 21 Pilots, Nelly Furtado, Taylor Swift, Linkin Park, Demon Hunter, Paramore, Demi Lovato, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, and Michael Jackson. We also discussed The Umbrella Academy, Elliot Page, When Acting Used to Be Acting, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Divergent, Scary Movies, Transgenderism, Gender Norms, Racism, Equality in the Workplace, Fatherless Homes, Sexual Harassment, Crying, Shoving Down Our Emotions, Reincarnation, Marvel Movies, Guardian Angels, and Evolution, The Afterlife, Suffering, and Being Colorblind. I even learned what it means to be white passing. On a very serious note, we also discussed the extremely controversial subject of the Hunger Games and whether or not a person is Team PETA or Team Gale. This might be the most offensive and controversial topic I've ever had on this podcast. If you have never read or seen the Hunger Games, we discuss major spoilers in this section. So as soon as we mention the Hunger Games, I suggest that you run away from whatever you are listening to while babbling incoherently in order to drown out any possibility of hearing these spoilers. You will thank me for these instructions, trust me. If you choose to ignore my warning, that's on you. And now for the conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. This is awesome. It's always fun. I have a blast doing this. Doesn't need to be anything
formal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a conversation. You see where it goes. It's always been fun. Every time it's been different. It goes different directions. I think the same topic has only come up like twice. But somebody did bring to my attention that the band Metallica has been mentioned in every single episode so far for some weird reason. And now it's going to be in this one too, because I just said it.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. It's like it wasn't planned that way. It was just kind of like, yeah, we did it. At some point we talked about Metallica. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Are you like a big fan?
I like Metallica. I mean, they're not like my favorite band of all time. I mean, well, they might be in one of my like maybe top 20. But yeah, I don't set out to like talk about them or anything. I don't remember how they came up. The first one, I think it came up. How did it come up the first time? Because of Stranger Things.
Oh, wait.
Have you seen Stranger Things?
Yeah, but how are they? Oh, because Eddie Munson?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And that was like and I mean, not to retell the story, but it was the same kind of thing where it was that meme that was going around where it showed the guy playing or the kid and it said, I saw Stranger Things and went and bought Saint Anger, which is known as like Metallica's worst album. But the whole point was like all these kids now are never even heard of Metallica and watch Stranger Things. Yeah. And they're like, oh, what's this band? Was this a new band? I've been around since like the 80s, the 70s. I mean, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's how it came up. But.
Yeah, I just had that moment with the Smiths.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've always meant to listen to them.
That's Morrissey, right? Is the singer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So one night it was like 2 a.m. and I go, I think tonight's the night I'm going to listen to their entire discography.
Oh, wow. In one sitting?
In one sitting. Yeah. It happened.
How many albums is that?
I think 4. Yeah. And so I went through and I listened and just liked what I...
And was that your first time hearing a lot of those songs, or had you heard them all before?
A lot of them, yeah.
Okay.
I've heard, I think one of the titles starts with How. I think it's How Are You, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know a whole lot about that band, actually. That's kind of on my list to check out one day, kind of ones, because I love 80s music, and I love all that kind of, that sound,
Yeah.
The Cure. I love The Cure. I like that kind of similar style. But
Yeah, Love Song by The Cure is my favorite.
I think that's got to be the most covered song of all time.
Oh, yeah?
Like, there's so many bands that have covered that song. And to the point, who was the first one I ever heard that covered it? Because I thought that's who it was. Like, I didn't realize it was a cover.
Oh.
I had just heard it on this album. I forgot the band now. It was like a rockabilly band, I think, that had covered it. I think Tiger Army covers it too, but this was a different band that had covered it. And I was like, oh, I really like the song Love Story by whatever band. And, and it wasn't until years later, it was like, that's a cover song, right? I was like, is it really? And then as I started listening to more and more bands, it's like they all covered this song. You know? It's either that one or Just What I Needed by the Cars. Like, just about every punk band covers that song.
Can you give me a line?
It's just what I needed. I needed someone. No, it's like an old. You know the Cars?
No.
You never heard the Cars? Okay, you probably know if you heard some. You're a lot younger than me, right? How old are you?
20.
Oh, you're way younger than me. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That'll be fun as we talk about music then, because you probably have a whole different. I mean, unless like your parents showed you a bunch of early stuff, but
yeah,
that's cool. Well, you are at this point the youngest guest I've ever had on this podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
Do I get a shirt?
Yes.
Nice,
but not really. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about that. Well, so that's the Smiths, one of your favorites, or is that just like a new band you're getting into?
A new band.
Okay.
One of my absolute favorites is a group. I guess not a duo known as Tender.
Okay.
All caps.
Okay.
And they are based out of the UK. They're like electronic indie.
Okay.
Pop kind of thing.
Is it like newer? Like, when did their first album come out?
Their first album came out, I think, like 2014.
Okay, so fairly new.
Fairly new. Yeah.
Okay. And it's like dancey, or is it like?
It's like synth heavy.
Okay.
So dancey.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like groovy.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And it's just two guys.
Two guys, yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. I've never even heard of that.
They're so good. I don't think there's a single song that I don't like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that one. Definitely. I like hearing that new kind of stuff. You mentioned synths, which makes me think of, there's a band I know you've never heard of called Joy Electric. I'm sure you've
heard of.
No way, really?
I'm friends with Cindy. I've heard of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's heard. I don't know. I didn't ask her that. We didn't talk about that.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Joy Division.
Joy Division, yes.
Okay. Is that the one you're talking about?
Division. No. This is Joy Electric. It's one guy and a synthesizer. And did you ever watch Friends?
No.
Okay. I won't get into them. But my wife always kind of says that's what her reminds us. It's just ridiculous. This one guy with a synthesizer. But if you like synthesizer music, it's actually really, really good. And a lot of his lyrics are very, like a fairy tale kind of fantasy kind of stuff, which I think is cool. But anyway, I just mentioned Joy Electric because I know you never heard of them. But 21 Pilots, who I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
Everybody's heard of them by now. That's probably one of the newest. They probably started 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. Probably one of the newest ones that I really got into. Like, I heard Guns for Hands and just totally got into them.
Yeah.
Was it the first song you heard by them too?
So the first song that I heard by them was Car Radio, and I think they performed it on like American Idol or something. And after that, I think the next one I heard was Guns for Hands. Okay. And I was hooked after that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so different. It's like I've never heard anything like this. I went and I bought everything that they had at that point. At this point, as we sit here, I've seen them live 3 times now. Best show ever. I mean, if you ever get a chance to see them live, it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's so when they do car radio live, he climbs up this big, huge.
Oh, I think I've seen videos.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been videos. Yeah, but they do a bunch of really, really cool things in their shows. But yeah, that's one of those bands that I think don't have a bad song out there. But yeah, Tender, I'll have to check out. So that's one of the newer ones that you've gotten into.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back even farther. What's your first musical memory? Like, what's the first time in your life you can remember, like, actually thinking, I really like music, or I really like this song or this band or whatever?
There's a song by Nelly Furtado called Say It Right.
Nice.
And I had this tiny, like, portable radio, and I would stay up all night waiting for that song to come on the radio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one night it finally hit, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Now, did you get your little cassette tape and record it?
No.
Oh, that's what I used to do back in the day.
I didn't have
okay. Back like before there was CDs and that kind of thing. Before there was CDs, actually, back when I was younger in the 80s, if we wanted to actually own a song without buying the tape or whatever, we usually just want that one song. We do that. We'd wait till it came on the radio, and then quick, push record, and you'd get, you'd always miss the first little part of the song because you get in there. That's awesome. I don't know if I've heard that song.
Oh, it's so good.
I think Nelly Furtado. I think of that real part. I'm Like a Bird, right? That's Nelly Furtado.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't think it is.
I'm like a bird. I want to run away.
Fly away, because she's a bird.
I don't know. I thought that was Nelly Furtado.
I don't think it is. I have my phone. I'm going to look it up.
No. Okay. we'll look it up later.
Okay.
But yeah, prove myself wrong.
Yeah, no. Nelly Furtado she also does Man-Eater.
Okay. Is that a cover?
It's not a cover.
Okay, because I'm thinking of the old Hall & Oates song.
I also like that. That one's pretty
good. That's awesome. So walk me through it then. Do you think that you're like, do you love music, or is it like, eh?
No, I love music.
Okay.
I've always loved music. It's like been one of those things that's kind of brought me closer to my family.
Okay.
My family is not the like talking emotions type, and very just like leave me be.
Okay.
So everyone has their own, or had their own style. I lived with, I was raised by my mom.
Okay.
And my mom listened to a lot of like 60s and the
like psychedelic rock 60s, or like Motown kind of stuff more? Or?
I meant more like the slow stuff, like
okay. Like oldies. What they would call oldies now.
Oldies, yeah.
It's like its own genre.
Yeah, oldies is like nostalgia for me. And so she listened to that, some like funk.
Okay.
And like old school rap kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what kind of stuff there? That's how I started in music too.
Name something and I'll probably.
Well, I started with things like, I don't know. I mean, Easy, NWA. I was into that kind of stuff in the 80s. I was really into the Bay Area scene. So it was like Too Short, Spice One, some of that, Ant Banks, that kind of stuff, MC Poo. But I mean, a lot of that's kind of underground. But that was what I started with. That was the first. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it. My first memories of music are like you said, like stuff my mom played in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like Phil Collins, Genesis, Elton John. That kind of thing that I would hear in the car. But my earliest memories of first getting into music and being like, oh, I want to go buy that tape. Yes, it was tapes when I was a kid. I want to go down to a warehouse and buy that tape. It was all rap. It was all rap, to the point that I even said I hate anything but.
Interesting.
Anything with guitars, it sucks. Country sucks. Rock sucks. Everything sucks except rap.
Is better than rap.
That's it.
Wow.
And it wasn't until like junior high where I finally started to come around to some of the rock stuff, and now getting into punk rock's my favorite genre, which is kind of, well, everybody knows that, but that's kind of where I'm at now. But I like everything. I like anything that's good. If it's good, I like it.
Yeah.
That's what I say. And a lot of times, back when I was younger, you didn't have that. it was like, I like this, I like that. Everybody had their one thing that they liked.
Yeah, and I always thought that I had to be that way. So I felt pretty different, like, because I liked what my mom liked.
Right.
It's like comforting. And then my oldest sister, Vanessa, she, should I name? I'm just going to name names. I don't care. I'll warn her later. She is 31, and when she lived in the house with me, she has a different dad, so she was in and out of the house. But when she lived in the house with me, she listened to The Cure, Hoobastank.
Okay.
And now I'm blanking on anything else. But yeah, that was her whole vibe, and I picked up on that. My brother picked up on that. He is 29.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so you have a big family.
Oh yeah.
Is there four siblings, or is there more than that?
Two oldest sisters, two oldest brothers.
Oh wow.
One of them on my dad's side.
Okay.
One older brother on my dad's side.
Wow.
But yeah.
And then you have a younger brother, you said too, right? He's the one that made that cake that we had the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I have an even younger brother.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but he's my mom's husband's kid.
Husband's kid.
Yeah.
So he's like a stepbrother?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an easier way of
I was trying to do the math. Wait a minute. It's my mom's stepbrother. Okay.
Yeah, I think about how complicated all the family things are, so then I just make it more complicated by explaining around like that.
Right. Right. Well, I cut you off. So you're talking about, so you had your genres that you were liking, that you were learning from other people. Yeah.
Oh, so then my other oldest sister, Victoria, she liked a lot of Taylor Swift and whatever else is like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what era of Taylor Swift, right? She started off as country. And
Teardrops on My Guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah.
I would ride my bike around where we lived in like a little cul-de-sac, and I would ride my bike there and listen to that song.
Nice. Yeah. See, I didn't get into her until my older daughter is 24. In fact, today's her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
She's 24 today. But she got really into it when she was in her teenage years. Probably, I don't remember what album, maybe Fearless or somewhere around there. One of the early ones, but it wasn't not like when it first came out. And I didn't really know any of it. And she had shown me some of it, and I was like, yeah, this is actually, like, I'm kind of fighting it. Like, well, I probably shouldn't like Taylor Swift. I mean, like, but I actually really like it now, and it's kind of fun because then when the new albums come out, she always asks, "Did you hear the new album yet?" And we'll listen to it together sometimes, or we'll talk about it, and and get into all of that. And I personally like her poppy stuff more than her country stuff. I think 1989 is probably my favorite Taylor Swift album. Okay. Just because it's got that kind of dancey, like "Welcome to New York" is one of my favorite ones. I really like that song. But my daughter really likes a lot of the newer stuff too. It's more of the kind of, folklore, and I don't know if you've heard of some of the newer stuff, but
no, I hardly keep up with any artists.
Okay,
I'm bad at that. I'm very kind of like spontaneous about music. Just whenever the mood hits me, I'm like, okay, let's get into it.
Right.
But Tender, I keep up with them.
Okay.
They're the one band I keep up with.
Okay. I'm gonna write that down before I forget.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have a whole list for you.
Do you really?
Yeah, I had to stop looking at it because I was like, oh, this song, and this song, and this song.
Oh, yeah? Different bands or all from this band?
All different.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Stuff you think I haven't heard?
Yes.
And you're probably right?
Yes.
So what else you got?
I
want to hear it. I want to hear the things that I haven't heard.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be excited if there's one I'm like, I've heard them. And you're going to be like, what?
Oh, Fort Minor. Kind of rappy.
Wait, isn't Fort Minor... No, I'm probably totally off.
Are you thinking?
Who's the guy from Linkin Park?
I don't know his name, but they did I think yeah.
It is him.
I think so.
Okay, he's the rapper from Linkin Park.
Yeah.
I love Linkin Park.
Another one that Vanessa would listen to. That
okay.
I love.
Yeah.
Slip Out the Back by Fort Minor.
That's the song.
That's
okay. All right.
I can send this to you later.
Yeah, why don't you send that to me later? Because then my hand might start cramping up with all the writing. I've never heard any of his like solo rap stuff.
Yeah,
I like him in Linkin Park. I should clarify. I like the Hybrid Theory album. Okay, that's their first one.
Songs, give me songs.
Crawling was probably the first song I heard on there. In the End is on there.
Okay.
Runaway. They had a few singles off of there. In the End is probably the most well-known single off the album. But that's the one, when it first came out, I was like, oh, this is really, really cool. But that's back when I was I was really into that kind of rap rock kind of, I guess they call it new metal, like like Limp Bizkit and
yeah, I'm not good at keeping up with genres.
Okay, yeah, well, it's hard because there's so many different. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to say things. I'm like, well, there's rap, there's rock, there's country, there's soul, or whatever, right? But then there's all these subgenres within that. It's like you got rock, well, then you got hard rock, you got heavy metal, you got, new metal, you got hardcore, you got like there's all these different things. It's like I don't know what any of that is. Yeah.
So in also tell me if I say like too much, because I think about it often, but it just comes out.
Just let it flow.
Yeah. So the listeners, let me know.
Yeah, they'll send me an email. Hey, that episode was great, but man, that girl just kept saying like way too many times.
Oh, that's my worst fear.
Oh man.
So, where was I going with that?
You're on Fort Minor.
Yeah, Screamo is what I really enjoyed for a long time.
Okay, and so give me some of your Screamo bands you like.
The Amity Affliction.
Never heard of that one.
Ooh,
Amity, like Amity Horror, but Amity Affliction. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are their lyrics horror based?
No, they're
just
very,
the name.
Yeah,
okay.
They're pretty depressing actually.
Okay.
Of Mice and Men, they have an album called Restoring Force that is beautiful.
Okay.
I love it.
It's funny. I would have never taken you for a Screamo person.
Really?
I don't know why that is.
Ooh.
I don't know, but I don't know if that's an insult. I don't mean it to be.
Yeah.
I just, meeting you, I would never guess, because you're so like, you're so happy and bubbly at work, and it's like I would never guess for you for like a hardcore, screamy metal kind of person.
Yeah, I used to have fire truck red hair.
Oh yeah.
Like mega eyeliner, all crazy.
Nice.
The swoopy bangs, I had that.
Right. Did you have to stop that because you got the job over there?
No, that stopped when I just got tired of hurting my hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just became expensive to keep up with all the things. And yeah, I kind of holed up in my room for a while before the pandemic. So. Okay. Yeah. Just. Right. Clean slate.
So when you say Screamo, just so I understand, because everybody means different things when they, is it like there's a screamer, like vocalist. Is there also a clean vocalist usually?
Yes.
Okay, so I know what you're talking about then. So the band's like Under Oath is one of my favorites. I love Under Oath. There's another band called Demon Hunter that I really like that you may not have heard of. That's my favorite one of all the Screamo bands. So you have to check them out. Yeah. And that guy. And what's cool, so Under Oath, who you know, right, you got Aaron Gillespie's the drummer and the clean vocalist, and you got Spencer's the screamer, which is awesome watching them live because they play off each other so cool. But what's cool about Demon Hunter is it's the same guy that does both. Oh, nice. So it's like you listen to them and you think, sometimes you think they have like 3 or 4 singers, because even his clean vocals, he has a few that sound different. It's really weird, but it's all the same guy. Yeah. And it's just amazing. The guy's unreal.
Yeah. Being a singer, I kind of feel that, the different like tones, it does make you seem like a different person. Right. That's fun.
Yeah, so you should check them out. So when you sing, do you sing Screamo stuff?
No, I have not been able to achieve that.
It hurts.
I
mean, even trying to sing along in my car, I'm like, it hurts.
Yeah. No, I am scared of hurting myself like that. So no, I don't try to scream. There are times where I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling this, I'm gonna get into. No, it doesn't happen. Okay. Yeah.
So when you sing, what kind of music do you sing generally? Like, what's your range? Like, what? I guess give me an example of like an artist that you could do karaoke for and think you would sound pretty good.
That's such a good way of putting that.
Yeah.
Adele.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I like Adele.
I've heard a few people say that I sound like Adele.
Okay.
Yeah. Paramore also.
Oh, nice. Yeah. They just started touring again. Did you see that?
Oh, really? Yeah.
They've been sitting it out for a while, and then they came back.
I know she's playing Misery Business again.
Okay.
And that was like not a thing for a while. Fences by her. Have you heard that one?
I don't know the titles.
Oh.
There was a friend of mine had turned me on to them because his band sounded like them. Like they had his girlfriend at the time was the vocalist, and he said he was trying to tell me, he's like, oh, we sound kind of like Paramore, and I was like, who's Paramore? He's like, you never heard Paramore? And this guy's like a lot younger than me too. He's a family friend who I've known his parents forever. So I mean, I've known him since he was like a fetus, but now that he's like in his 20s, we'll hang out sometimes, and he would tell me about that. He's like, oh, this band Paramore, and so then I started listening to them. I think I just went on YouTube or something and did at work, I think it was, and I just Paramore playlist or whatever, and I started not reading song titles, but just listen to like 10, 12, 15 songs or something, and I like it. It's really good. So,
did you hear like the more poppy things or
both? Okay, I've heard both. Yeah, it was a pretty, differences in sound.
Yeah, because her earlier stuff is kind of rock, pop punk.
Yeah, it's kind of poppy punk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think her newer stuff is more princess pop ish.
You made a face when you said that. So I'm guessing that maybe you prefer the poppy punk Paramore more than.
Definitely do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you call it princess pop?
Yeah, I'm just making stuff up now.
Okay. I've never heard anybody say that.
My own genre.
What would you call princess pop? You're talking like Britney Spears, kind of like Christina Aguilera, Demi Lovato kind of stuff, or what?
Demi Lovato, I think.
Okay.
Sounds. But even she's getting more into like rock stuff.
Did you hear the new album?
I didn't hear the new album, but I heard a new song.
The new single. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my older son, I was up late one night messing with stuff, and he sends me messages randomly all the time, which is exciting because I like to hear from him. But he's like, hey Dad, have you heard the new Demi Lovato album? He goes, I can't even tell you the title of it because it's profane, but man, the sound is awesome. And I go, really? I go, well, send me some song titles, So he sent me 3 or 4 different song titles, and I started listening to it, and I was like, this is actually really good.
Yeah, her vocal range has always been.
It's always been really good. Yeah.
Insane.
She's very talented.
Yes.
Very, very talented. I think that she obviously has some problems.
Yeah.
Some mental problems.
She suffers a lot.
She does. But I think she's very, very talented. Like I've always said, to get back to Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, like they were out around the same time. Same somewhat kind of music, especially early Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle, that kind of sound, right? But whenever I listen to them, I'd always think to myself, I think Christina Aguilera is far more talented. Like she's just got this voice. Like, do you remember the Moulin Rouge song that they had?
Yeah.
Tell me she does not just destroy. Like she comes in and it's like no one else is even there.
Right? Yeah.
Like she just comes in and just blows that all away, and I get chills every time I hear it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just came in the room and made everyone else sound like they're a bunch of little kids at a recital somewhere.
Yeah, this is a Christina Aguilera song.
Yes,
this is not.
She just took the whole thing over, and that's probably why they put her at the end, because she just came in and just blew it out of the water. But anyway, that comparison I've always thought, and not that I don't think Britney Spears has any talent, but like when I talk about vocals alone, like Christina Aguilera's vocals are just naturally awesome.
Yes.
Britney Spears, you can kind of hear a little auto tune going on there. Like she's definitely got something there. But
well, did you keep up with like all the things about her? What is it?
The conservatorship and all that. Yeah.
I was gonna say apprenticeship.
Yeah. No. Well, you had the ship part, right?
Yeah.
You're halfway there. I paid attention to all that. I don't know where I stand on all that. I mean, not that I think as a grown woman necessarily that another adult should be controlling her life.
Right.
Right. I don't think so. But if a person becomes a danger to themselves and to others around them, especially their children or things like that, then it's like, well, somebody's got to step in, right? I mean, you can't just let them do that. Do I think it was time to let her loose? I guess we'll see. I mean, she's already doing some crazy things already,
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, shortly after that, she was, posting weird pictures and, it's just kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're not a teenager anymore. You're supposed to be a grown up.
Yeah.
But,
Well, maybe there's, I haven't seen what you've seen, but maybe there's kind of there's like a delay in mental age, I guess you would.
Yeah.
Could
be. Could be. I mean, and that's what they say about a lot of those people that are in Hollywood from such a young age. I was talking to somebody the other day about Michael Jackson and how he's got that song. Are you a Michael Jackson fan at all or no? So he's got that song Childhood, where he's all about have you seen my childhood? And the whole idea is that he never really had one, right? Which explains why he makes Neverland. He's got an amusement park out there. He's got like, it's like it's the place where you can be a kid. Yeah. And that's what his whole thing was.
Yeah, I always have to be reminded that he was a part of him and his siblings, right? Yeah, had their own music group.
Oh, before he was solo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He started as a kid in the Jackson 5 and ABC and I'll Be There. That song that Mariah Carey made popular again in the 90s. That was a cover of a Jackson 5 song. Okay. And then they were the Jacksons for a while, like in the 70s. They had that kind of a disco-y, got a couple albums as the Jacksons. And then he went solo with Off the Wall and then Thriller, and then that was the rest is history.
Have you heard Panic at the Disco?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thoughts?
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. Emo? Do they call that emo?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't know genres either. Now, that's the guy. Now, I'm probably getting this wrong because every time I say this, my kids go, no, Dad, that's the other guy. Is that the guy that's in the Taylor Swift song on the Lover album? It was the first single off the Lover album. Me? I think it was called Me.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I think is his name Brendan
Urie.
Is that the Panic at the Disco guy?
It is, yes.
Okay, good. I got it right.
Okay, so it is him.
Okay, I always get that guy confused with the My Chemical Romance guy.
Oh.
And Fall Out Boy, and I get all those confused for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, Fall Out Boy is Patrick something, maybe something Patrick. Mm-hmm. And My Chemical Romance is Gerard Way. Gerard.
Oh, Gerard Way.
Or Gerard. I don't think it's Gerard.
It's probably Gerard. If it is Gerard, they should change it.
Yeah.
Because we should call him up and say, hey, you need to change your name because that sounds stupid.
It does. He made a comic.
He made a comic?
He did. It's actually really cool.
Like he does the art?
Uh-huh. Yeah, with like superheroes and things. I could be wrong. It's kind of Umbrella Academy-ish.
Okay.
Esque.
I've never read the comics, but we watched the show. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the show?
Yes. Not the newest season, though.
We started the newest season. Okay. And we didn't get very far. And that might be something we can talk about a little bit later. There's a reason for it. Okay. I'm sure you know where I'm going with it. But it's not... Well, let's just go there now. Okay. It's not because they made Elliot Page's character that. It's just that I think it's, and this doesn't mean we're not going to ever finish the show. We're still going to finish the show. Uh-huh. But it was just kind of a turnoff because here's this person who's an actor who in their personal life
is trans
yes. And has changed their name from Ellen to Elliot. Fine. That's your prerogative, whatever's. But the fact that the TV show that you're on now feels the need to change your character on the show as well because of what's happening in your personal life. I'm like, that's lame. And they did it so abruptly and quickly. Like it's in the very first episode. Oh. Right? And she comes out of the thing and they're looking at her like, what in the world? Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, I've always been this way. You just never noticed. And it was like this total like thrown in there thing. It didn't seem like it fit at all. It was totally out of place.
I was afraid that would happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it makes sense for Vanya's character because Vanya's character always seemed queer to me.
Right. Well, and they played that out in season 2 because she was in the relationship with that other girl.
The farmer's wife.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought it would make sense for her to be trans as well.
Maybe, but
to make it so awkward is
I mean like
a disservice.
Like what am I trying to say? Ease it in there.
Yeah.
Develop it. Mm-hmm. Don't just be like boom. All of a sudden, first episode, next season. Hello, I'm this.
Yeah.
Whoa, what? and I think I don't think I would have had as derogatory of a response to that
if I didn't know that was what was happening in the personal life at the same time, because I'm like, that's obviously why the producers of the show decided to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, they probably didn't want the show to become just that, you know?
Right.
Elliot Page's.
Right. Yes.
I want to say ascension.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's something that we seem to have lost with Hollywood. It's like acting used to be you're acting. You're pretending to be somebody you're actually not. Yeah. Right? And now it's like this whole thing where it's like if someone plays a role that they're not really, like a handicapped person, right? Like if a non-handicapped person plays a handicapped person in a movie, there's this uproar. How dare you? You should have got a handicapped person to play that role. I'm like, it's acting. Like you're acting. If you're just being yourself, you're not acting.
That's okay. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did you hear about Sia and the movie that she did?
Sia the singer?
Yes.
I didn't even know she did acting.
She not acting. She was the producer in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Or director. Something.
Okay.
She had a big role in creating it. I think.
Gotcha.
I think the movie was based around one of her albums.
Okay.
Kind of like Halsey.
Okay.
Halsey did that. Mm-hmm. Someone else did that, but I can't remember. So yeah, Sia did that. She had the main character in it was, I think, had Down syndrome or something.
Okay.
They were a special needs character. And she chose someone who wasn't special needs to portray that. And there was a lot of uproar about that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what I saw was the reason we did this was so that we could film it without any complication, you know? So
okay. The reason they chose a person with Down syndrome to not be. Oh, they didn't choose somebody
as the actor.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's a person that doesn't have Down syndrome that's playing a character that does.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it might not actually be Down syndrome. It
okay.
could be something else.
Okay.
I'm not solid on facts.
Right. Well, we get the point. I get the point that you're making. So.
Yeah. So, and I guess with this specific, like special needs thing, the person would have been sensitive to like light and sound and to the point where they would be overwhelmed and wouldn't be able to work. And so a lot of the commentary was like, hey, you could have found someone with this to portray it accurately, and just accommodated their needs, you know, instead of putting them out of the job,
right,
and not giving them the chance. I think that was a big part of it too.
Right. Yeah, I understand that's the argument that they're making. Like you're taking jobs away from people in the acting community that already have these conditions or handicaps or whatever. I'm sure I'm not using any of the PC terms. I'm going to get canceled for even saying the word handicapped. But you know. But again, I'm not against using somebody that already has that because I put myself like I'm a casting director, right? And I know the script, I know the director, I know the producer. My job is to find the right people to play every role in this movie, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to 15, 20, however many people are reading for this part, okay? I need to pick the right one. I don't think that should even be in my mind whether or not they truly have that handicap or not. Okay. It shouldn't even be a consideration. It should be like, who's the best at playing this role? As they're reading the lines, who's the most believable? Who's sitting there reading to me? I'm going, oh my gosh, this is that character. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I go back to, did you ever see the movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
No, that's with DiCaprio, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. So good. It's Johnny Depp plays the main character, but DiCaprio plays his younger brother. It's a great movie. You should watch it.
Yeah.
It's a great movie even without DiCaprio's role, but his role in that is phenomenal. I mean, and it was back at a time where he wasn't real well known because he was a lot younger. Yeah. And when people saw that movie, they assumed that they had gotten a handicapped kid to play that role. He was that believable as that part. It was just unreal.
Do you know any of the like prep work that he did?
I have no idea. I've never.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, he's kind of hard to watch in interviews.
Oh, really?
He comes off kind of as a jerk. I don't know. I've never met him. I don't know. but I think he's a great actor. I mean, he's been in some. I mean, he's always been a phenomenal actor as far as what I think. But
Shutter Island.
Dude.
Oh my god.
Was that not like the greatest ever?
Best.
Yeah, that was such a good movie.
Yeah.
Blows your mind. That's one of the ones. So I like movies where I like weird. Yeah. I like confusing. I like all that. As long as by the end
there's some resolution.
I understand.
Oh, okay, that yeah.
If at the end of the movie I'm still going, what in the world was that? Then I hate it.
Yeah. You wouldn't like, I think, Hereditary.
Never even heard of that one.
Oh, that's a pretty good, a well-known one. It's like a psychological thriller.
Who's in it?
Nat Wolff.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, okay. Have you seen Paper Towns?
No, but that's the John Green, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So Nat Wolff is the dude in that one. The main dude.
Nat Wolff.
Yeah,
okay.
I think with 2 T's.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nat Wolff.
Yeah.
Okay. Wolf with 2 F's?
So there. Oh, okay. So Hereditary. I can't say anything about that because it's you
don't want to give it away, right?
You have to go into it blind.
Yes.
There's another well-known woman in it, but I don't know her name.
Okay.
Mother with Jennifer Lawrence.
I've heard of that one. I heard that one was really disturbing.
It was very disturbing.
Okay.
I felt sick after watching it.
Well, that makes me want to see it now. Like, great.
You should 100%
make sure I don't eat before I watch it.
Yeah, no popcorn.
Yeah.
For that movie.
I love Jennifer Lawrence as far as her. I remember me and my wife watched Winter's Bone.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that one.
That came out before Hunger Games, before what else is she doing at that time? X-Men, some of the, that kind of her first coming in before she became like a Academy Award winning actress, but I think she did win like a Golden Globe or something for Winter's Bone.
Okay.
It was an unknown movie when it came out. And she was unknown. Everybody in it's unknown, but it was a story of this like alcoholic, maybe even a druggie dad who was raising these kids because the mom was like messed up too or whatever. And Jennifer Lawrence character, and they live like out in the woods. Wait, that's what it was. And then one day the father goes missing. Oh. He's the primary caretaker because the mom's like mentally, like she just stares off into space and she needs to be taken care of. So then Jennifer Lawrence character is kind of thrown into this role of taking care of her siblings and her mom. Well, then she leaves and goes in search of her dad, and she tries to find him so she can say, get your butt back, take care of your responsibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good role for her.
Interesting.
But then Hunger Games, loved her in Hunger Games. I love those movies.
Yeah.
You saw those, right?
Which one?
The Hunger Games.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And did you read the books?
No.
Oh.
I know the books go a lot more into it.
They do, but the movies are great.
Yeah?
I've read the books and seen the movies, and they did a great job on the movies.
I think they did a pretty good job too. It was, I watched all of them like back to back to back just a while ago.
Oh, really? It was like 12 hours because the last movie split into 2 parts, right?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of watching.
It was, yeah. I was bedridden.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, when you were sick?
Yeah.
You just watched. See, that's cool. Might as well do something.
Yeah. Get some watching in.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question to ask you then is, are you Team PETA or Team Gail? That's the age-old question.
I always felt bad for Gail.
Yeah. Did you really?
I think he knew her more. Like.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But
also her and PETA went through this really traumatizing thing together.
Right.
How
Plus the bread. Hello.
The bread.
He threw the bread at her, yeah. But the whole thing with Gail for me was like, I didn't dislike Gail. I think he's a fine character, but I felt like the relationship between him and Katniss was like a brother-sister relationship. They grew up together, they hunted together, they both came from the same, kind of district and broken families and the whole kind of deal. And they kind of grew up depending on each other and helping each other and all that. And I liked their relationship. I just didn't think it should have been anything more than that, know? So, but anyway.
Yeah. PETA always kind of bugged me. And then especially when they were on 2 different sides of the whole thing with the president.
Right.
Yeah.
And the last one, the last book.
Yeah. Well, movie, because I didn't read the books.
Oh, right. Yes.
Was it different in the books or
No.
no?
No, I was trying to remember when that happened, because like Mockingjay is to me, Hunger Games and Catching Fire are pretty similar, but then I feel like with Mockingjay it went a whole different direction, because now they're like, it's not even really about the games, it's about them like attacking the Capitol and like this whole thing with all that, it's just a totally different, and that was my favorite of the 3 books. A lot of people hated that book, mainly because of that main character that dies, and everybody was so sad about it.
Oh, who died?
Well, I can't say it. What if people listening to this have never seen or read it?
Then sucks for them.
You don't remember who died in that one?
Who died
in the explosion?
Was it Prim?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that hurt.
That was brutal. Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, but who was the first one? Who was it? Rue? Who died in the first movie?
That was sad too.
That hurt.
Yeah.
Oh.
She was. Yeah. But that was pretty awesome when that guy was it Thrush? Is it Thrush? The guy that was from Rue's district, big huge guy.
Yeah.
That he came and he killed the girl that killed Rue.
Oh yeah.
And he left Katniss alone because he knew that she had helped Rue.
I liked that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then of course he died anyway, but.
They all died.
They all died. Yeah. But I remember when I got to the end of the second book, this is anybody listening to this at this point needs to know, if you have not read or seen The Hunger Games, turn this off. You should have turned it off 5 minutes ago. These are spoilers, big time spoilers.
We'll insert a warning.
Right.
Later.
Yeah. But the end of the second book with the whole thing with where they're in the games, right? And where she shoots the arrow up into the sky.
Yeah.
That just, man, I was reading that going, what? Oh my gosh. And then they came and they swooped in, and it was all supposed to happen, and it was like the game makers were all in on it. It was like, oh wow. It was awesome. Yeah, it was really, really cool. That's another book series my daughter got me into, actually. She was reading them when they came out, and then there's another series she's trying to get me into right now, and I just haven't had time to start it yet. My daughter reads a lot.
A trilogy, or? I
know there's more than one book.
Okay.
If it's 3, I don't know. It's either Sarah J. Maas.
I don't think I've heard that name before.
It's either that author or a different. I know she's reading that author a lot, but I think the book series she wants me to read is by somebody else. I can't remember the name.
Did you get into Divergent at all?
So, no. Because, I'd never read the books. I heard the books were really good, and I've been told to give it a chance and read the books, but I hated the movies.
Really?
Hated the movies. I didn't care about Triss and Four. I didn't buy the relationship. I could care less if either one of them died. I was like, I don't even care. You guys are lame. This whole thing, the story was decent.
Yeah.
But like when you read and watch Hunger Games, it's like you get into the characters. Like you care about Katniss, you care about Peeta, you care about their relationship, you care about everything going on. You don't want them to die. You're like, you're rooting for them. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get that with the other one.
Hunger Games was a lot less lovey-dovey too. Than Divergent.
Divergent. Like the whole point was their relationship. Almost, it was just like
it happened pretty quick in the movies. I think.
Right.
Yeah, but the books.
Okay.
The books are awesome.
I'm pretty sure my wife read the books and enjoyed them.
Yeah. They're much more Triss centered, and like you totally see her growth and just becoming herself. And her finding her identity outside of the factions and the boxes that they're put in. It's just
right. She's another actress that I'm like, I loved her in Fault in Our Stars.
Oh yeah,
loved that movie. That was fantastic. That's also John Green, I believe, wrote that book, right? Yeah, my daughter reads a lot of John Green too. And she's the one that showed me that movie to begin with. But
did you cry?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Come on. If I didn't, I'd be heartless.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I really liked her in that. Every other thing I've seen her in, don't care for her.
I can't think of anything else I've seen her in.
She was in Divergent. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't like. Like she had only signed the contract for 3 movies.
Yeah.
And that's why the 4th movie never came out.
There was supposed to be a 4th one?
Yeah, because they split the last book into 2 movies.
Oh, I remember hearing about that.
And she's just like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. I'm like, hey, Katniss would not have done that to her fans, okay? She would have stuck it out,
Yeah.
and tore the contract up, and she would have finished that 4th movie.
Well, I hated the 3rd movie anyways.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The last book is phenomenal. There's a death in there too that's pretty intense.
Okay.
But yeah, I hated the last movie. It did not do the books justice, and so I'm glad there wasn't.
Yeah, the Maze Runner series was another one that my kids really enjoyed the books.
Yeah.
And didn't care for the movies. Percy Jackson, same thing. They loved the books, and they said these movies are horrible.
Did you hear there's going to be a series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess Rick Riordan's going to be behind the wheel. So
yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
They decided to age up the characters though.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which is going to tick people off because, right, if you change anything from the books like that, you know, they're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it from the money standpoint.
Right.
And then also,
right.
Yeah, I think having them aged up, they'll be able to talk about a lot more.
Right.
Like, get into mental health maybe. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it'd be a good show to reach out to some people. Especially with the whole ADHD thing. And being a demigod, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's part of the story. I didn't even...
Yeah. In the beginning, it talks about how, in the beginning of the books, it talks about how Percy has ADHD, and that's why, like, he can't focus in class. He's always restless. And then they explain it. Oh, he's a demigod. He can't, he's restless because he's meant to be fighting. And
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's like before he knows who he actually is. Mm-hmm. Okay. I never read the books.
Oh,
I don't know.
Dude.
That's why I was able to somewhat enjoy the movies.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what I was going into. I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, so I saw the first movie before I read the books, and then I saw the second movie after reading the books.
Okay.
I wasn't completely upset with the second movie.
Yeah. Said you like horror movies.
Yes.
You said scary movies.
Scary movies.
Do you tell me what kind of those you're into?
I don't like the documentary type things.
Like Blair Witch?
Like Blair Witch, exactly. Yeah. Those bug me.
Really?
Yeah. I've heard some people get like motion sickness.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially from that one.
Uh-huh.
I think that's the only movie I've seen like that. That's a horror movie. That's a documentary style.
No, I've seen a few. My brother loves like B horror movies.
Okay.
So a lot of them are like that because they're the easiest to shoot.
Right.
I enjoyed, Poltergeist.
Oh, the original?
Hell yeah.
Nice. And the second one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the hotel?
No. Poltergeist?
Yeah.
No. I've only seen the first two. There's no hotel.
Oh, so then maybe...
Are you talking about The Shining?
No.
Okay.
No. There's a Poltergeist movie, and the part that I remember the best is they're in the parking garage, and there's this puddle, and this girl walks up to the puddle, and she falls into it, and it's not a puddle. It's like...
They did a remake of Poltergeist. Maybe that's what you're talking... I never saw that one.
Carol Ann was in it, though. She was older, though.
Okay. Yeah. Then it definitely wasn't the first. The character was.
No, the actress.
Because she died.
She died. How?
The little girl?
Yeah.
She died like in the filming of one of them.
Really?
I thought so. I'll have to look that up and check because that was one of those movie franchises where there was always weird stuff like that happening. Like weird stuff was happening on set. She died somehow. The little girl goes into the TV in the first one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first one that's the one where he drinks the worm out of the tequila bottle, that whole thing, and then it like grows inside him, and then and the second one is the one with that creepy preacher guy that's got like the and he's going door to door in the rain, and he's
that
like
one?
he's like
whoa nightmare fuel.
Yeah, see, I watched those growing up, and I like those kind of ones. I don't love a lot of like gore necessarily, like not that it bothers me, but if that's because there's certain people just like a movie just for that. Oh, it was awesome. You just seen all the blood and the guts. And it's like, fine. But I mean, that to me, that doesn't make a movie. You know, I need a good story. I need a good plot. I want to be surprised a few times here and there. I want the ending to blow my mind. Now, if that comes with gore and guts and all that, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not necessary. And that's why I think movies that, a good example would be Woman in Black. I don't know if you ever saw that with Daniel Radcliffe. I love that movie. Really? Oh, I love that one. See, to me, that's a scary movie to me because it's just got the suspense without necessarily even a monster or anything, you know.
Yeah. I thought it was lacking in suspense and.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe the suspense was there. I think it
started too slow, maybe for you.
Yeah, and then also there wasn't. I think what it is that there wasn't so much like release from the suspense. You know.
Right.
There weren't so many jump scares and like.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite scary movie of all time? I sound like the guy from Scream.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I mean, those ones are good. Those ones are more funny though. I think.
The first one's great.
Yeah.
Second one's okay too.
I had an answer, and it's some of my favorites are Oculus. Have you seen that one?
Nope.
Ooh.
I haven't seen a lot of the newer ones. Is that a newer one?
Ish. 2016 maybe.
Yeah. See, I probably haven't seen any horror movies from 2004 maybe on. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I've seen one here and there, but
One Missed Call.
Nope, never heard of that one. I've at least heard of the Oculus one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen it.
Ooh. Unborn. Okay.
No. These are some of your favorites?
Yes.
Okay.
Evil Dead was good.
The old one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
the remake was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, and then they did Army of Darkness, which was hilarious.
I didn't watch that one.
You've never seen Well, it's almost kind of a spoof.
Oh, really?
But it's really funny. It's like it's supposed to be funny. Where Evil Dead 1 and 2. Well, from what I understand, Evil Dead 1 and 2 were made to be horror movies.
Yeah.
But people saw them as comical.
Oh, really?
So with the third one, they decided to just be like, you know what, let's just go, you know. Yeah, it's like this whole thing where Bruce Campbell works at, what is it, S-Mart? It's supposed to be like Kmart, but it's Shop Smart. Shop S-Mart.
Dude.
And he's just really over the top and funny. It's a great movie. It's really funny, but it is a horror movie technically, but it's definitely a little more on the funny side, like Scream.
Yeah.
Scream's a horror movie. I mean, it's got all that in there, of course, but there's some parts where you're laughing, sometimes even at the killer. You know, that whole scene in the end of Scream where Billy and Stu, is that his name? Yeah, and they're like, he's like, I'm getting a little woozy here, you know, and the part where they're stabbing each other to make it look like they were attacked, and it's just like, it's so comical, but it's gross at the same time. And it's like, wow, these guys are like the killers, and they're you know, making fun of it. But
have you seen Orphan?
No.
Dude,
I know, I suck.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to. Okay, but you have to watch that one.
That's a have to.
That's a have to.
Here it comes.
Because they came out with the part 2 recently.
Okay. Is it The Orphan or just Orphan?
Orphan.
Okay.
Yeah. And part 2, I watched part 1 right before part 2. You know how normally you're not supposed to do that with movies?
Right. That's why they have the numbers. They go in order.
No, I watched part 1 before, like right before watching part 2.
Oh, you mean back to back?
Back to back.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. I thought you said you watched part 2 before you watched part 1. You're like, you're not supposed to do that? And I was like, well, yeah, there's a reason there's an order.
I might have said it wrong.
Right.
I do things like that.
Yeah. Probably not. I probably heard you wrong.
So, yeah, you're not supposed to do that because then you like draw, not conclusions, comparisons. And it's like, you don't enjoy it as much.
Right.
But do that.
That's a good one to watch back to back?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll have to check it out. Yeah. Very cool. I'm trying to think of some other M. Night. I like M. Night movies.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them.
Split and...
Split. Yeah, Split was good.
What was the first one? Unbreakable?
Sixth Sense was the first one that he did.
Oh, I meant in the trilogy.
Oh, right. Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Technically. Then Split. And then what was the new one? Mr. Glass.
Yeah. I wanted to say Mr. too.
Yeah. Because what he says, they call me Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was epic Samuel Jackson role. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like with his movies, I love Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Then Unbreakable, I really liked a lot. Didn't think it was as good as Sixth Sense. And then Signs.
I haven't seen that one in a while.
I liked it. A lot of people hated it. I thought it was really well done in the way that they... But see, this is why a lot of people hated it. They're like, oh, when you finally see the alien, it's ridiculous. And they did it in such a way. It's like, yeah, but I thought it was great. And then The Village.
The Village.
Now let's hear. Okay, so you've seen it.
I don't think I have.
Oh, you haven't seen it.
Explain.
Okay. Well, I don't want to explain too much. It's Joaquin Phoenix is in it. Sigourney Weaver. what's her name? Bryce Dallas Howard is the main character.
I don't know that one.
So they all live in this village, and there's those we don't speak of that live in the woods. And as long as the people in the village don't breach the borders of the woods, then those that you don't speak of will leave you alone, kind of a thing, right? Well, then there's a tragedy that happens, and the person needs medicine. So somebody has to breach the borders in order to get the medicine back for the person. And that's all I'll say. But if me telling you that, that doesn't sound familiar to you, which means you haven't seen it, you need to watch it.
Okay.
It's really, really good.
The Village.
But I find it interesting because most people your age didn't like it.
Oh.
Most people my age thought it was like one of the greatest movies ever. It's just.
Well, now I'm determined to.
Well, now you have to watch it. You have to watch it, and once you watch it, I'll tell you why. Well, first you'll tell me if you like it or not.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about whether or not you.
In episode 2.
Yes. You're not the first person to say it. I've had we'll do a part 2. We'll do a part 2. I think maybe if we get to a second season.
Maybe if
we'll
I like you enough.
Yeah. We'll see how many likes your episode gets, and then we'll decide who's going to get.
We'll let the audience choose.
Yeah, exactly.
Put in your votes now.
But if you have any trouble finding it or whatever, let me know. I have it on DVD. You can borrow it if you want.
Nice.
So anyway, all right. You ready for part 2?
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Do you consider yourself a political person?
No.
Not in any way, shape, or form?
No. I don't think I know enough,
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty crappy about how much I keep up with politics.
Okay.
I read the news very occasionally, and it's condensed things.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I say politics, a lot of times people think, oh, the presidency, or government, or things like that. But I mean, it's basically, to me, politics is anything that's happening within our world. Like you have kind of two sides to every issue, right? Like if you listen to any discussion on any topic, any hot topic, right? You always have somebody on this side of it that's just so fired up for one side, and the person over here is so fired up for this side to the point that they're just like,
clash.
I hate you if you disagree with me. Like it gets that intense, and I think when people say I'm not political, I know what you mean. You're saying, well, I don't really follow who's in the, I don't really care about presidents, and I don't care about that kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm sure there's certain topics, like if I just threw something out there, most people would have a very strong view one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So hit me with something.
Well, I hate to hit you with it because I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I mean, there's a couple of ones we've talked about already on this podcast with people, or abortion, or transgenderism, or gun rights. And you can usually boil them down to, in politics, you have right and left, right? You have conservative and liberal, or some people will say Republican, Democrat, or whatever, to where it seems like, for the most part, the right tends to be pro-life, pro-gun, not okay with
trans rights.
Well, I'm trying to choose my wording carefully, because it's not that they're not okay with trans rights. So something that's happening right now, most of the right is not okay with the idea of the transition surgeries for people under a certain age, right? This is a big fight that's happening all over the country right now in different states. So they would be against that, to where usually on the left, pro-choice, anti-guns, pro-LGBTQ, pro-transitional surgeries for any age without parental consent. And it usually seems to, and so usually if I'll ask people, well, how do you feel on this stance? How do you feel on this? How do you feel on that? I can pretty much say, okay, you fall on the right, you fall on the left. Yeah. Even though some people are like, I hate that. I don't want that label at all. Well, it's just our mind. And that's what's fascinating to me. Our minds tend to just think a certain way, which in my opinion puts us on one of those two sides. And I'll just say this, and this might ruffle feathers, but that's okay. I've noticed that it seems to me that most people on the right are interested in logic and facts. Most people on the left are interested in feelings and emotion, right? And that's why these debates that people have don't really go anywhere, because it's like, well, statistically, here's guys on the right, statistically, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And the guy on the left's like, I don't care about your statistic. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
You're denying how I feel, right? And this guy's going, well, I don't care about your feelings. I care about the truth. I care about fact,
Yeah.
And they don't get anywhere because they're not seeing each other's the same. They're not seeing it the same way.
Yeah.
They have the exact same issue in front of them.
Yeah.
But it's like they're viewing it through two completely different eyesights. Yeah, lenses.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah. So one issue that I'm pretty split on, like emotionally and logically, transgenderism.
Okay.
And the surgery at a certain age. I have someone in my family who is trans and younger, like not below 18.
Okay. Still a minor, but old enough to have come to that conclusion on their own. Or you're torn on that too?
I'm torn on that too.
Okay.
And it's hard. I would like to be as respectful as possible, and I am accepting of their identity and how they've come out. But yeah, surgery is just not something that I can get behind.
Okay.
For that young.
So before we get to the surgery part, which I want to hear your take on that, I want to back up a little bit.
Okay.
So are you okay with like the person in your family, which is always makes it harder, right? Because it's like, well, I love this person, I care about them, but let's say I don't know which genders we're referring to, but let's say that they're a biological male who now identifies as a woman, right? Do you have any issue at all with calling them she?
No.
Or her?
No. So when they came out to me, I was very like, okay, when are we changing your pronouns? Because when they came out to me, it was just me.
You meaning you were the first person that they told?
I was the first person that they told, and I knew I was the only person to know for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice that they feel that comfortable with you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely felt trusted. It's very important, I think, for our relationship. So yes, I was ready to make that switch. But they didn't come out to the rest of our family until 2 years later.
You think it's because they were scared at the reaction?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe even feeling how real it was,
Right.
To be addressed as they were.
And when they did come out to the rest of the family, was it a bad response that they got?
No, they got a pretty good response.
Okay. Okay.
So my grandparents have had an interesting response.
I'll bet.
Yeah, they're all for it. They're very respectful. They try so hard, and I give them all the kudos in the world. It's amazing. But they're having a lot of difficulty with it. They feel a sense of loss, and changing the language, they said, is really difficult for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I guess my stance on that is if someone changes their name, I got no problem with that. Like Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, right? Now wants to be called Caitlyn Jenner. No problem. Because that's just a name, right? A name can be changed. Like my parents can name me Ryan, and when I grow up, I can have my name legally changed to King Kong if I want to. Okay. And that's my legal name, right? Yeah. And to me, that's not going against anything scientific. It's not going against anything biological. It's not going anything against with that. But if someone who is a male biologically or is a female biologically and wants me to call them something that's the opposite of that, or I guess the opposite's not the right way to say it, the other to that, that's difficult because now I feel like I'm being forced to, from my own mindset, lie.
Oh,
because now I'm lying. If I know you're a biological man and you want me to call you woman or call you her or she, that's, I mean, I understand that the politeness of it, and you're like, well, just call them what they want. Why ruffle feathers? Is it that big a deal?
Interesting.
And this is something, right? And this is the dilemma for me is that, and I was asked on this podcast before, like, Ryan, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Why do you care so much if someone who's a biological woman wants to be identified as a man? I said, well, I don't care. If it's just within them and that's what they're doing and that's what they want to do, that's their own life they want to live. Yeah. Fine. I don't care. That's up to them, right? But there's this idea where the whole world is supposed to conform to that. And my only issue with that is to where it becomes like a denial of reality. And I feel like once we open that door and we just, that's a free for all, how far do we go with that? You know, the example I've used is, what if someone identifies as 65 when they're 20?
Oh.
What if you identify as 65 and you go down to the Social Security office, you're like, hey, where's my Social Security check?
Yeah.
And they say, excuse me, ma'am, your ID says you're 20.
Yeah, I had a friend who said he identified as, he is Mexican. We're not friends anymore.
Just to get that out there. I'm not friends with this guy at all. Just so you know. Okay.
Before I let you in on. Yeah, he's Mexican. He's what I would say is white passing. Do you know what that means?
Means he, even though he's Hispanic in bloodline, he looks white?
Yes.
Okay.
I had to explain that to another new friend.
Gotcha.
So Mexican, white passing, he told me that he identified as a black woman.
Okay.
And I was speechless.
Okay.
How do you, whatever. Anyways, we're not friends.
Is that why you're not friends? Was that the straw on the back or what?
No, it was.
Okay.
So the reason he said that he identified as a black woman was because he went through a guided meditation on YouTube to find his spirit guide. And his spirit guide was a black woman, a black goddess. And so that is who spoke through him when he interacted with people.
All right, so I have two questions on that. The first one is, do you believe this person? Do you think that they really believed that they were a black woman? Or do you think it was kind of like just a thing to say?
I think it's a way to, I think it's a form of denial. Like, it's a way out. Like, there's a black woman inside of me speaking, and that's not me.
Right.
And in that way, you can kind of, you don't have to take accountability.
Right.
Yeah, because it's not you.
Okay, so you got my mind going everywhere. So this is interesting, because even to say that someone has a black woman inside them, like, there's inside of you, there's no skin color at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like your soul has a skin color or anything like that. So that's a weird statement as it is.
Such a weird statement.
You know, it's very strange.
He was dabbling in some psychotropics around this time. So
yeah, that's helpful to the story, I think.
Yeah.
My other question about it is, so when a person like your friend would say, I identify as a black woman, when they're biologically not. Biologically, he was a Hispanic male, right? White passing. Or whatever that term was you said.
Important to the story.
Yes. And then you hear that and you go, no. not cool. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Yet if a biological male says they're a woman, you're totally okay with it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
I think the difference is like gender norms. So when this person in my family came out as trans, one question that they got was, what does it mean to you to be the gender that you would like to transition to? And I think that was a great question. Because I don't know, it comes down to identity, and it's...
Yeah, but isn't that the same as the person identifying as a black woman? Because I think on each side, what we're saying is that person is something physically, but mentally, they feel or they think that they are something other than what they are physically.
Yeah, so the black woman thing, I think, is making an excuse for being able to play into, like, black women's stereotypes. And it's totally... It's like they're excusing themselves for being able to act a certain way, which is the stereotypes.
Right.
And they don't know the experience of an actual black woman because they haven't lived in the world that way.
Correct.
Yeah. So that to me, that's why that whole thing is wrong.
But you think that a biological male who identifies as a woman, you feel like that person has lived in the world as a woman?
I think being able to see the gender norms in action, I think that is a bit of their experience. That
when you say gender norms, maybe break that down for me, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so we treat men and women differently. Like it's proven that in classrooms, like dudes are heard out more than women. Heard out mean like they're listened to more? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry if I use the wrong words. Definitely. No, I'm just trying. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Because if you say something and I think in my mind, well, maybe she means this. I don't want to run with that because I might be totally wrong. Yeah. So I just want to clarify. If you use a term that I don't understand, I want to make sure that I know what you mean. I do that a lot. So. Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine. It really doesn't matter what words we use as long as we both understand what we're talking about. Yes. That's what's important. So that's why I keep asking those questions. But so that's one of those. So you feel like that just as a society as a whole, men tend to be listened to more than women. Okay. And you think that's true today as well? Yeah. Okay. Because I think I would definitely agree with you 30, 40 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, even more so. Yeah. Right? Well, maybe it's because when I said, I thought of like my dad. My dad is definitely the type to talk over women and like, no, my opinion matters here. Right. And we'll get to your opinion, but let me say something. Right. So it's probably, I'm speaking from my experience. Right. So let me ask you though, does your dad tend to also speak over other men? I haven't seen that as much. Okay. Okay. I would just be curious because I think this is where like I find some truth in what you're saying. Yeah. I think I just take it a different direction to where I think that by nature, men, and I have to say by nature, and I don't mean it's true every, I'm just talking about like majority in a sense, men tend to be louder anyway. Like we tend to be more wanting to be making decisions, wanting to lead, wanting to, put ourselves out there. It's just generally speaking, it seems like that's more of a male trait. And don't get me wrong, I know many women that are like that for sure. I'm not saying that this is true of everybody, but I just feel like if you were to get 1,000 men and women in a room, 500 of each or whatever, is that the right math? Yeah. And then kind of get to know all those people. Yeah. I think that the vast majority of the strong personalities would be men. So here's where gender norms would come in. A man and a woman both try to step into that leadership role. Well, people are more inclined to go with the man because he's more trustworthy as a leader. So that's like an example of gender norms. Do you know anybody that like feels that way? Like is there anybody you could ask and say, like if you were to ask me, hey Ryan, when you're listening to, let's say, political candidates, let's say you're listening to somebody running to be the governor of California, and let's say you got Johnny Rogers and then you got Brenda Russell, you got a man and a woman, right? And they're running against each other, and you said, Ryan, now as you're listening to each one, are you thinking to yourself, now this Johnny Russell guy, or no, I think I confused Brenda Russell. What's Johnny's last name? I forgot. So I'm thinking to myself, boy, this Johnny guy, because he's a man, I'm going to trust him, even though everything he's saying is ridiculous. And everything what Brenda's saying is spot on. But, I mean, come on. Brenda's a woman. Yeah. I mean, come on. I'm not going to go with her. I mean, she's a woman. Yeah. I mean, again, I looked 50, 60 years ago, I think a lot of men may have been that way, but that was because women weren't supposed to be in politics. Women weren't supposed to be in the workforce. They were supposed to be at home with their shoes off, cooking me dinner in the kitchen and making babies. That was their job, right? that was it. And I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just saying that's the way it was.
I don't know if you'd find a lot of guys now that would kind of feel that way.
No, they'd have to be insanely ignorant.
Right.
But so what I'm saying is Brenda and Johnny say the exact same things, maybe in different ways.
Right.
The exact same things, but they go with Johnny anyways because he's trustworthy.
And you think that that's something that's proven, or that's something that's like?
I think it's like a subconscious bias. I've heard that men like tune out women's voices. Like it's an automatic thing. So I think the same can be said for decisions like that.
Right. Huh. Okay.
Situations.
Yeah, I would just. Yeah, I guess that to me that's something hard to.
Like you'd have to see it in action.
Well, I guess. Well, I'd have to do more than see it in action. I'd have to see it in action on such a grand scale. Yeah. To where I would say, yes, that is our society. I mean, you can always find one loser in anything and say, it's like you get into like we've had the racism discussion on this podcast before, and you talk about, is America systemically racist? And you go back and forth, and then the side that says, yes, it is, they find some skinhead white supremacist out in the middle of somewhere, and they get him on TV, and they're like, well, listen to this guy. Listen how he's ranting and raving, saying how anybody that's not a white person needs to die, and blah, 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 blah. And they say, there you go, systemic racism. And I'm like, is that everybody? Does that one guy represent most of the population? Or is that like one guy out in the woods who's a psychopath who you brought in here to talk like that,
outlier.
Yeah. Yeah. So
systemic racism brings to mind like government and things. So I took a sociology class and we talked about environmental racism. Okay. So it brings to mind that whole thing. So I do think that.
Yeah, I guess I think that something like systemic racism, which means, right, that the system of the country is racist. I think that was true at one point. I do, obviously. Well, yeah, I don't think it's true anymore. If you go back in the times where if you were not white, you couldn't eat at this restaurant, or you couldn't use that drinking fountain, or you couldn't use that bathroom. That is obviously systemic racism. That's that's horrible. That's blatant. Yeah. I mean, it's totally like that. So you look at now, and you have things like affirmative action, right? Which says kind of the opposite of what you're saying. When you're talking about the man and woman thing, if you make it racial, it's kind of the opposite. It means that if you have to fill your quota of minorities. So which means if you have a white guy who's got much better credentials, he's much more suited for the job that he's applying for. And then you have a minority on this side who's not as qualified. Yeah. You go with the minority.
Yeah, because you need to fill the quota.
Because affirmative action. Because if you hire too many white people, then you're going to be called racist. When in reality, the person doing the hiring could not even be looking at that. They could be like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care what your skin color looks like. I care how good you're going to do the job. I don't care.
Yeah. So I'm split on, do you mind if I?
No.
Okay. I'm split on that because yes, I would prefer the job to go to the person most qualified. But I think giving minorities a leg up is a really positive thing. They haven't had the same advantages that white men have had.
See, I would say had. Because I think that it's been turned now. See, so give them a leg up, yes, right? Especially when give a leg up to the minority, which at the time where they instituted affirmative action, it makes total sense to me. I'm like, well, that makes sense because that was during a time where there was a lot of racism, where people were not choosing a candidate for their employment because they were a minority, where they were like, all right, I don't want that guy, he's a black guy, or I don't like that guy, he's an Eskimo, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever the prejudice was. But how far do we go with that? Because now I feel that we're almost the opposite, not the opposite as far as we don't have bathrooms where white people can't go, and we don't have that kind of thing going on. Yeah. But there's so much affirmative action style things to where I feel like like almost like the white guy almost has the disadvantage now in some ways, where people are like, oh no, you got privilege, you got white privilege. I'm like, what privilege? Like, explain to me what the privilege is, because I don't see it.
I see it as white men having all the marbles, and you give minorities a few of the marbles.
Can you break that down for me though? Because
so in the example with the resumes, or not the resumes, the job opportunity, so the resumes, part of why the white guy is so qualified for this is because he's had the experience, he's had time to build that resume, and he part of the reason why he's gotten that experience is because of his place in the world as a white man.
Okay, I've never heard it explained like that. So what you're saying is the reason that person, so what you're saying is the white guy's more qualified, but the reason he's more qualified is because he's had more opportunity from day one to get to the point where he's more qualified.
And it even goes as far back as like his family. Maybe his family had like connections within this one foundation, and because of that foundation, he's been able to build his experience. And so it goes back to like things like environmental racism, where there are just things in place that are so ingrained in our society that it's so hard for minorities to get to the same place as a white dude.
To me, what you're describing almost sounds more like a financial hardship thing than it does a racial thing. But then someone will come back and say, yes, but most of the minorities are living in impoverished cities. They're living, they're not as well off, right, financially. Because you could look at something like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Did you ever see that show?
Yeah.
So you got Carlton, you got Hillary and Ashley, right? The Banks kids, not Will, because he's like from the hood.
Yeah.
But you got them, and if they're in a job interview, if Carlton's in a job interview, he's going to nail it because he has the opportunity. He's had the schooling, he's had the money, he's had a family that raised him proper.
Yeah, he's been in those circles.
Right. So he's going to be it has nothing to do with the color of his skin because he's a black guy. But it has nothing to do with that because they're going to be like, oh, this guy. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's more like if you grow up in poverty or you grow up with a bad parent situation, which to me, that's number one.
Yeah. That's
number one to me. And they talk about things like, why is there so much crime in the inner cities? Why is there so much drug addiction? Why is there so much prostitution? Why is there so much of all these things?
It's upbringing.
Well, yeah. And you look at statistically the number of people that are involved in all that come from fatherless homes. And I'm not saying that someone that comes from a fatherless home is definitely going to get into that. I'm just saying, grand scheme, percentage-wise, right? Because there's people that are in the worst family situations of all time. They grow up to be some of the best people you'd ever meet in your life, you know? But I think that's the anomaly. I think the sad reality is most, especially boys that are brought up without a male figure in their lives, they turn to stuff like that. They turn to crime. They turn to drugs, you know.
So the way that my dad puts it is that they have no other option.
Right.
They're given their environment. This is the best case for them. And it leads them down this horrible path.
Right.
So my dad has been in did I say dad?
You said your dad.
Okay. Yeah. Dad has been in recovery for 13 years.
Okay.
From drugs and alcohol. And I'm only talking about this because he's so public about it.
Okay.
Because
like I said, I can take out anything you want me to later on. Shoot me a text and say, hey, take that out or whatever.
He would love that I'm talking about him right now. Yeah. So he got into drugs and alcohol around 13 and started rolling with some dudes that would enable that behavior, and he got into a gang and I mean he had the option for so much better. Like he tried to get into the military and he
You're good.
he had taken the aptitude tests and was so close to getting in, but then he made one wrong choice, and it was the end of that life. He
Like, she turned to drugs, you mean? That was the wrong choice that got him...
Okay, well, now we're coming across a thing that I'm not sure I can say.
Oh, okay, then don't.
Yeah, so there was a crime committed.
Okay.
And that was the end of that. So yeah, I mean, that goes hand in hand with what was around him at the time, and and then so in meetings he'll say that he has always felt different because he grew up Mexican. He's full Mexican, and he went to schools, white schools, and he was a smart dude, but his peers didn't treat him with the same respect because he was brown.
Right.
So...
Was he white passing?
No. No.
Okay. That's a new term. That's why I keep using it. I'd never heard that term before. You taught me a new term.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. White passing. I'm going to start using that of myself.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm white passing.
The other day when I asked you, like, what were you are you Mexican? That's what I was going for. I
oh,
was
gotcha.
ready to say, oh, you're Mexican, you're white passing.
That makes sense now. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that goes into a little bit into gender norms too. Like, you have norms with certain races. Like, if you are Mexican and you're white passing, you get more privilege than a darker Mexican person would. And even inside the Mexican circles, the darker you are, the more you're seen as like shiesty or like not a trustworthy person, and there's just a more negative context to someone with darker skin.
Let me ask you this though: do you know anybody yourself that is like what you're describing? Like, do you know a person who would look at two people and treat the darker skinned one worse than the lighter skinned one, even if they're both Hispanic?
That's a great question.
I mean, like, do you personally know anybody like that?
I don't.
Okay.
But I know of a few people who will mistreat Mexican people from a certain area in Mexico. So when they meet you, they're like, which part are you from? And based on that, they'll put you into a box. Oh, you're from here? That means that you are like a gold digger. You come from nothing, so you try to take what other people have.
Right.
So.
Which is the definition of prejudice, right? When you judge somebody based on what you think about them, not what you know about them.
Yeah.
Right. And that what you just described, it goes back to like the caste system in like India, where you had the untouchables, right? Like the lowest rung of the caste system, where it's like, oh, this person, they don't even talk to them. They're lowest of the low. They're the garbage eaters. They're whatever, you know. And they were like, you just didn't. And as a society, a lot of people just wouldn't even associate with them because they didn't want to be, you know, because you associate with them, now you're part of that group, and then you get started treating that way, right? But what it's going to take is enough people to do so, enough people from the higher caste or the higher class or whatever, and to say, no, 500 of us are going to go and we're going to live with these people. 1,000 of us, 10,000, 20. I mean, how eventually it's going to have to break, right? You're not going to be able to do that as much.
Yeah. Can't fire all of us if we all quit.
Right? Yeah. I mean, in a sense, that's kind of what it comes down to. You know, I was thinking of that scene in Bug's Life.
Which one?
The one with the Disney one with Oh, what scene you mean? The scene with where where they're saying just leave the ants alone, all the grasshoppers are talking in the bar thing or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes the one thing and he goes, oh, this is like one ant. And he throws them. Does that hurt? He goes, no. He goes, how about that one? He goes, no. And they start laughing, and then he knocks the whole thing down, and hundreds of them just covers him.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's exactly it. If one ant stands up and they all do it, then we're done. Because you got, what, 7 grasshoppers. And yeah, a grasshopper is much bigger than an ant. But especially in the movie, they're like way drastically disproportioned. But you know, if you got 500 ants against 7 grasshoppers, they don't have a chance. You know. But that's always. So I'm really trying to learn about this, because I'm just like back to like the whole idea of systemic racism and the whole idea of women treated differently in the workplace. That whole thing. I just don't see it. And I'm getting tired of people telling me that I don't see it because I'm a white guy. Right? And it's like, no, I'm really trying to see it. Like I don't, the only thing that I could see from the female perspective is that I think there's a lot more sexual harassment of women in the workplace than there is of men in the workplace. Obviously, I think it's always been that way. That's not okay. I don't think that's cool. But even within that realm, I think the female has a little bit more power, because if you went to HR and you said, "Hey, this guy at work keeps asking me out. I keep telling him leave me alone. I'm married. Whatever your case is, I'm not interested." Right? And he just won't let up. And he's even, flirting with me, and he's saying things about me, and I don't like it. Now, most likely, HR is going to get on that guy. Either they're going to give him a warning, and then if it happens again, he's gone. If I go to HR and I say, hey, this girl I work with, man, she just will not leave me alone. The first response is probably going to be a little bit of a chuckle, right? They're like, dude, really? Seriously? Come on. Really? Like, you're telling me that this girl you work with keeps asking you out, and
that's
you want
a problem.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. See, so there's that bias too, in a sense, to where I think in that sense the woman is going to be heard more so.
Yeah. So I think that comes back to gender norms, because it's like, you're a dude, you're supposed to want this attention, and also you have all the power because you're a dude. Right. So if anything gets bad, you're totally fine. You'll make it. If this chick comes after you, you have the means to defend yourself. You mean like if she tries to attack me? Yeah. I'm just talking like I'm not talking about like something grand like rape. I'm not going that far with it. I'm just saying just something that makes a woman feel uncomfortable at work. Like if a guy keeps telling her, "Oh, you look really pretty today," and she doesn't like it. Let's say she's married, and it makes her feel really uncomfortable, and rightly so. She should feel uncomfortable, especially if she's already told the guy, "Hey, dude, I'm married." Yeah. Like, you need to back off. And at that point, if he's a good guy, he should say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were married. That's it. I won't say anything to you ever again." And that should be where it ends. But if he continues, and that makes her feel really uncomfortable, right? So it's not quite attacking. It's not like she's in any physical danger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Having a hard time with that one, I guess. Yeah, my brain's going in a million different ways, so give me a... Yeah, pick one of them. That's what I felt a minute ago. I was like, okay, there's all these other things. Where was I going to go back to? I was going to... HR? Yeah, the HR thing with... Yeah, I guess I just see it as there's power there. When it comes to children and court cases dealing with men and women and their children... Oh, and which parent? I feel like women have more power there, especially somewhere like California. Oh, okay. So the way I see it is that's because mothers are nurturing, and they're seen as more capable of holding up a household on their own. And okay. So that you just reminded me of. That's something I was going to ask you about, because when we talk about, because a minute ago you just said you have the power because you're the man or whatever. Do you think? And this is probably going to lead into our next topic too. So whether it's divine or whether it's just structured by society or whatever it is, do you think there's a reason why women are generally more nurturing, more loving, more emotional,
and that men are more logical, more stern, more strong. Like for the most part, men are generally physically strong. I say it to people and they're like, oh man, I know this woman that's stronger than any man. Maybe. But again, back to the scenario, you put 1,000 women, 1,000 men in a room.
Yeah.
Most of the men are going to be stronger than most of the women. You're going to be able to find that woman that can probably whoop all of them, I'm sure. But that's the anomaly. So do you think that, first of all, do you think that's true? Do you think that is a general, I guess you call it a gender norm, but do you think it's natural or do you think it's societal? Do you think it's natural that women are more nurturing?
I think it's societal. I think it comes down to what we've been given the space to show. Women are given the space to be emotional, and we're excused for being emotional. If we get hysterical, oh, she's a woman, let her do her.
Right.
And
do you think that's bad though? Because I can tell you as a married man, my wife needs that sometime. Like there's times I try to jump in and fix it because that's what guys do. We want to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Because we don't understand why she's even bringing it up if she doesn't want it fixed. We can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
But to her, she's like, no, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to let me rant. I just want you to let me vent and talk to you.
Yeah.
That's foreign to us.
That's great communication style, by the way. Love that.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I don't think giving women the space to be emotional like that is bad. I think, but I think it should be something extended to men too, because men are told to shove it down.
I agree with you.
And to be, and I think that lets them be logical.
Yes, and I agree with that because from such an early age, we're taught as guys that crying is weak. That if you cry, it's weak.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that at all. At all. I mean, I think that men are emotional too. We express it differently, right? And we're less likely to do it in front of others.
Yeah.
But I think that's a societal thing. I think we've been told, again, because it's a weakness. You can't let anybody ever see you cry. Why not? You know, and I think that's even true in women's. My wife is that way sometimes. You know, she was raised a certain way by her dad. And, you know, we've been married for, long time. 20 plus years now, right? And still, she'll start to cry. And then she'll try to fight it back.
Yeah.
And I'll tell her, hun, it's okay. It's okay.
Just let it out.
You can cry in front of me. Yeah. We're married. We've been together for a long time.
It's not a secret.
Right. You know, but I mean, but it's not like she's doing it voluntarily. Like she's not thinking, I just can't cry in front of her. I don't think she's thinking that. I think it's just a natural thing that maybe even she's been brought up to believe, no, crying's a sign of weakness. Crying's a sign of weakness. It's like, no, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a natural emotion.
So for me, I was brought up a certain way, and my emotions, I was taught that my emotions were inconvenient. So I sucked down my tears because of that. And so even today, I have a hard time really feeling anything, which is funny because you say, oh, I'm bubbly. Like, I was
going to say, is that why you're smiling all the time? Because you're like the happiest person over there, I think.
Aw.
I mean, at least from the outside, but they say you never know, right?
You never know.
Sometimes the people that look so happy on the outside are some of the most miserable people in the world, but you know.
Yeah.
So you've been told to shove it down your whole life, so you still feel like you do that?
Oh, definitely, to the point where it's automatic and it's frustrating. It's I wish I have a friend who cries at the smallest of things. And I'm like, dude, you have a superpower. I wish I could do that.
Right.
The release, the catharsis you get from crying, like, I wish I could do that. That'd be amazing. This is turning into
right.
therapy
well,
session.
maybe you can.
Maybe I can. If I just believe.
Well, I mean, you'd say it like this: like if it's mainly a being in front of people thing, then do it by yourself.
No, I can't even do it by myself.
Oh no, you've tried.
Yeah.
You go in and put on like a Hallmark movie and like play some sappy music or something.
Have you seen We Bought a Zoo?
No, with
oh my God.
Matt Damon, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one?
It's a good one.
Really?
It's a good one.
I remember seeing the previews for that and I was like, what?
All you need is 20 seconds of courage.
Oh, is that one of the quotes in there?
It's a beautiful, yeah. Sorry, I'm kidding.
You better shove it down. Shove it down. No crying aloud on this podcast. It's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I mean, so back to that. So you don't think, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Mm-hmm. So do you think for a family structure, let me put it this way, in a family structure, thank you. Mm-hmm. In a family structure, do you think that it's important that there's two different sides? I would say a mom and a dad. Mm-hmm. I think a dad brings something to the family that is totally different than what the mom brings, and I think the mom brings something to the family is totally different, and I think children need both.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that?
So I see that as like the firm hand and the nurturing hand, and the nurturing hand is usually the mother. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I would prefer for both to be let me restart. I think kids need space, and they need to know that they're safe, and they can come to their parents with things.
Right.
And I think sometimes they feel like they can come to one parent more than the other.
Totally.
And in a perfect world, they would be able to come to both of them.
Right. I agree.
I think people are so complex, and yeah, if we were just given the permission to be as we are, then having the nurturing side and the firm hand would be within one person, would be a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if all of that, you're saying if all that could be encompassed within one person, then that would be fine. Mm-hmm. But do you agree that it's not?
Oh.
And that it never will be?
Was that the question?
No, that's just my follow-up question.
Okay.
Yeah.
That it's not that way? Yeah. Yeah, I believe it's not that way.
Do you think it should, do you think it well, I guess you do think. So you said in a perfect world, if that was all encompassed in one person. So ideally you think that's the best way to go about it, as opposed to the two that have half the story and then the other half of the story. And then you got the kids in the middle. You think ideally to be like that one perfect person, like Dark Crystal. You ever see Dark Crystal?
I haven't.
Okay, you gotta go watch Dark Crystal. Then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But so you don't see that as a better option to have both sides?
No, I think it sucks, because then you're leaving one person out of the story, and parenting is like a team thing. And if one parent, so like a kid comes out and they feel that they can only come out to one parent, and then that parent goes and tells the other one, then there's like this distrust. There's, you told my secret, this is...
Oh, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Totally with you on that. That, I guess that's not so much what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think that the male counterpart and the female counterpart, the mom and dad in a family, complement each other to where something that the dad can't offer, the mom can, and vice versa. I understand what you're saying, to where if a child feels more comfortable with one parent and not the other, and then that parent starts to feel like, boy, you and the kids, or you have this whole thing going, I'm not a part of it.
Yeah.
You don't share anything with me. The daughter shares everything with mom, and they have this whole bond going on, and dad's over here going, I don't know my kids. And that's not okay. I don't think that's okay. That's not what I mean. But I guess I'll use that to go into, because when I look at the family structure, I think it's from a Christian perspective, but not just a Christian's perspective, because I think even if you look throughout the world and you look at kind of the way that things are going, right? Like I mentioned before about fatherless homes, it's a big problem whether they're Christians or not, right? It's a big problem. But I do think that structure was put there by God for a reason.
Fatherless homes?
No. The structure.
Sorry.
You're like, what kind of God do you believe in? No, the structure, the family structure. And I think that there's a reason. I think that that's not societal. I think that women are the nurturers, and I think they've always been the nurturers from day one. I don't think society forced that on them. I don't think that men were forced into the provider category, the hunter-gatherer. I think that's always been in place, and I think it's something inherent that is just there from the beginning of a person's life. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be thinking about it. When I'm 6 months old, I'm going, all right, one day I'm going to build a house, and I'm going to kill some meat, and I'm going to get a wife, and I'm going to have some kids. You know, that no, of course I'm not thinking that, but I do think it's in there.
Yeah.
So that being said, let's go into part 3, which is about spiritual issues. And so let's start by you kind of telling me about your beliefs in that area. And you can share as much as you want or as little as you want. I know it's kind of a sensitive subject to people. About your just belief in God or lack thereof, or how you were brought up, or...
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say a word, and we might circle back to it later.
Sure.
Okay, epigenetics. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, maybe we'll circle back to it later.
I want to now. We better. That's a good word.
It is.
Sounds cool. I don't know what it means.
Oh, yeah. Great. Anyways. So... I don't believe in a God.
Okay.
When it comes to religion, I think it's about what gives you hope in life, what gives you comfort, what keeps you moving. And what keeps me moving is picking and choosing things that I like from different religions.
So like what? Tell me some of the things from other religions, certain religions that you like.
Reincarnation.
Okay.
That is a thing.
Do you like reincarnation?
I do.
You like the idea?
I do. Yeah. The idea of like getting a second chance and doing things differently.
But don't you, in Hinduism, don't you have to reincarnate versus something really lowly? And then you have to build back up to a human again over like
so it makes me feel great about where I'm at right now.
Reincarnate and you're like a stink bug or something, like, oh crap, dang it, should have stayed where I was. Yeah. So you like the idea of, okay, but as far as I understand with reincarnation, you don't remember your previous life. So that's difficult, because if you're supposed to be learning more and learning more, just gaining more life experience, that's kind of difficult unless you bring with you all the experience that you had in the previous life before you're reincarnated.
So that makes me think of intuition.
Okay.
Sometimes you just know, like, you shouldn't walk in through that alley because something's gonna happen. You know, like it. I think that comes from experiences that you've had in a past life, and you feel the remnants of it. So
like you, in your previous life that you don't remember, you walked through that alley maybe, and maybe that's how you died.
Maybe.
Like I wouldn't stabbed and killed, and then now the reincarnated you is like, okay, I don't like that alley. I don't know why, but something's bad about that alley over there. I'm gonna go the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't get so specific, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other ones from other that are appealing to you?
I like the idea that we're all connected. So you believe in a God. I believe in the universe. I think that really.
I believe in the universe.
I think
we're in it. I probably don't believe it's the same as what you believe it is, but I do believe in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have a God. I think my God is like this force in the universe that kind of just, it chills there, and occasionally you'll get a little sign. Okay. And it's like, hey, you're doing good. Or
is it a personable force?
No. I imagine it as a purple mist.
Okay. But you also just described it as giving things occasionally.
Yeah.
So do you see it as intelligent, this purple mist?
I think it's do you like Marvel things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, hang on, because the last one we saw was Multiverse of Madness. We haven't seen anything past that.
Okay. I did not see the new Wakanda Forever, so
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the new Thor.
Oh, me neither. or
Okay.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah, haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen all the shows. We haven't seen
The What If.
haven't seen What If, but that was an older one.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen Miss Marvel,
Oh, is
She-Hulk.
yes.
Haven't seen any of those.
She-Hulk. I haven't seen that either.
We saw the last show we watched WandaVision.
Yes.
We loved WandaVision.
Oh.
We watched
Hawkeye.
You like my pantomime there? Pantomime. Is that a pantomime? No. Charades? What is that? Whatever. You got the point.
I did.
You understood what I was trying to say. Yeah, I think that's the only one. So anyway, your point is Marvel movies. You asked me if I like Marvel movies.
The Watcher. Have you
No.
heard? No. Oh, okay. So you need to watch What If. There's an episode that's like, what if the Watcher intervened? And so the Watcher is like, he monitors all the multiverses, but he doesn't interfere. He
Right.
cannot interfere. Otherwise, everything collapses.
Okay.
And so I kind of think of the Purple Mist as that. It watches, but it doesn't intervene.
Okay. So the Purple Mist then has intelligence.
Yes.
And did the Watcher create the multiverse?
No.
Was he created by the multiverse?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Facts.
Okay. So, so you believe in an intelligent being, mist, energy source, but not a personable one.
Yeah.
So, would you be willing to say that the purple mist? I like that, by the way. Purple mist. That's kind of cool. The purple mist created. Yeah, it's the sparkly purple mist.
Oh yeah.
That it creates anything, or does it just kind of exist within what's already been created?
Yes.
Yes, both of them, or
no, the last.
The second one. Okay.
The second one.
So when you look at like creation, or what I would call creation, maybe you wouldn't call it that. When you look at stuff, you look at outside. Do you think to yourself that something must have created that, or do you think it's just there? Like it's always been there, never had a beginning. It's just always been there, and we just happen to fall into it, and this is where we live, kind of thing, or?
No, I don't think I don't think anything really happens by accident.
Okay, which again implies intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that goes against your Watcher scenario.
Really?
Well, because the Watcher doesn't interfere. If you don't intervene, then how can you say things don't happen by accident? There's either somebody at the helm or there's not, right? So
the Watcher also knows how everything is going to play out. You remember Endgame, where Doctor Strange has the time stone?
Yeah.
And he can see all the... Yeah. So it's like that.
Right.
The purple mist just knows.
Right.
What was the core of that?
Well, I was just saying that there either has to... So if there's nobody at the helm, then accidents can happen. Because there's no director. There's nobody that's intervening. There's nobody that's putting things into motion, per se. They're just leaving things as they are, and things are happening. So in that case, there can be an accident, right? There can be a guy that flies off a cliff. That wasn't his accident. He didn't mean to do that. He wasn't planning to die that day, but he drove off a cliff, right? That's an accident.
Yeah.
Or there's somebody at the helm that's kind of in somewhat of a control.
In somewhat of, yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
Here's me cherry picking. I think things are meant to be.
But who's meaning them to be?
Who's meaning them?
That's the question I would ask. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Things are meant to be. I agree with you.
So maybe it's more that the purple mist is meant to be comfort, like.
But now he's personable then. Because if he's comforting people and he's offering joy and hope to people, then that implies that he cares about them.
Well, I don't think it needs to care.
You're right. Purple mist is genderless.
They, no.
They, them.
I don't think the purple mist like has emotion like that. I don't feel cared for, but I feel watched. I feel I guess kind of like a what are they called? Angels? The
guardian angels.
There we go.
Okay.
That's the word.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But again, I guess I think to myself, if you as a human, mm-hmm. and the people in your life that you love and care about.
I'm definitely human, yes.
Right. No, I wasn't questioning that. I'm just saying you are a human, right. And you have other humans in your life that you love and care about. And when they hurt themselves or they are sad or whatever the case may be, you try to offer them hope. You try to offer them love. You try to give them a hug. You try to make them feel better. Mm-hmm. Why do you do that? Because you love them and care about them, right? If you didn't, you'd just be like, suck it up. Mm-hmm. Quit being a wuss. I hope you do die. Go ahead, go kill yourself. I don't care, right? That's what you would say if you truly didn't care and love that person, but you do, right? And if someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm going to kill myself, you're going to do everything in your power to stop that person from doing so because you love and you care about them, right? So I guess I think if there's any being, any mist, any force that's going to care enough to offer hope, to offer any kind of love at all, or even any kind of protection, right? You talk about like a guardian angel. Let's say a guardian angel is sitting in your passenger seat and you don't know, and you're driving down, say you had, and I've heard this story from people I know, that I had too much to drink, shouldn't have drove home, did anyway, blacked out. I don't even remember driving home. I woke up that morning in my driveway with my door open and one foot on the ground and my car still running. Mm-hmm. And they chalk that up to be like, oh, there must have been a guardian angel watching over me, because I could have just as easily crashed to a telephone pole or driven off a cliff or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But my response to that would be well, maybe, but I think it would be ridiculous to say that whoever protected you, if somebody protected you, that's a different question. But if we're assuming that someone protected you, then that person would have to care about you in some way. Yeah. Right?
So I think because the purple mist is all knowing and knows how things are going to unfold, that's why it gives hope. Right. We're all a part of it. And so it can, and so, yeah, okay, it does care because I feel like there have been too many times where I'm so uncertain. It's hard to want to continue. So I look for signs.
Right.
So, I mean, this is all, I feel like my whole thing is a bunch of hooey. But it keeps me going. Right. It gives me hope. It gives me a purpose. And I think that's the core of religion in general and people's beliefs. And I think that might be disrespectful to some.
Not to me. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I get it. In fact, a lot of what you're describing, not all, but a lot of what you're describing is what I would say is my view of God. I think, I'll explain it to you. My view of God is that, yes, he did create everything, but he also kind of set things in motion, in a sense. I also believe that he exists outside of time. Which means that there is no tomorrow, there's no yesterday, for everything's now for him. Because, even if you look at like the atmosphere, if you get on a spaceship and you travel, the farther outside the atmosphere you get, time starts to slow down, right? They know that from science. Time slows down. So the theory would be that if you could eventually create a spaceship that could get you far enough out there without, imploding first, that you would eventually get to a point where time slows down so much it's non-existent. I think that's where God exists. And I think that he sees, here's the beginning of creation, here's the end of the world, or whatever terms we want to use, but he sees it all here in front of him. He knows every single thing that's going to happen all in that space. He knows every single person. He knows what the decisions they're going to make. He knows what they're going to do. And this is where I believe in free will. I think we do have obviously we have free will. Yeah. Because, you go on the news and you see some guy went into a school and shot up everybody, right? You think, it's either he had free will to do that and God allowed him to do that with free will, or God made him do that. Mm-hmm. God controlled him to do that, which that's not a good view of God either, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have the free will, but I think God knows every decision we're going to make.
Yeah.
And he's somewhat orchestrated everything in our lives based on what decisions he knows we're going to make, if that makes any sense. Because like you're saying about the mist, knowing everything already, knowing everything that's going to happen. But I guess what I would add to it is I do think that he cares. I do think that he loves us. I do think that, and I do say he, because now I'm not referring to the purple mist, but I think that he is personable. And I think that's something that for me, I didn't get for a long time. I didn't grow up religious. I didn't grow up in the church in any way at all. I don't know if I've already told you this story, but I hated Christians.
Oh, really?
I hated the Bible. I hated everything about it. And I always believed in God. I was never an atheist, but I always believed in a God that I know now was a God I had made up in my own mind. And I loved that God. That God was great. It was fine with whatever I did. It was that whole God's my homeboy kind of thing. But people would invite me to Bible studies, which I don't understand, because I would just sit there and argue with them, tell them how stupid they were and how narrow-minded, and you can take your Bible and go throw it in the lake for all I care. But so the God I believed in wasn't personable. He wasn't somebody that loved and cared about me. I didn't feel like anyway. So that was something that I had to come to later. I mean, I was 24, I think, when I became a Christian. But I guess where I was gonna go with that.
Can I go somewhere?
Yes, go somewhere with it, please.
Let me run over here.
Yes.
So my mom grew up Catholic.
Okay. Mine
and
too.
I don't know what made her move away from that, but she said that she's studied the Quran a little bit, and so she's spent her time in a few different religions, and I think she was looking for something specific. And in her case, I think it was the allowance to do what she wanted, and it's okay because I go to church on Sundays.
Right.
And so religion has never had any weight to me. I haven't seen it lived in a genuine way.
Right.
And by that I mean like God. So that's I think that's why I'm resistant to believing in a God. In NA, my dad talks about
higher power.
Yeah, you have to find your higher power. Right. And basically he's like, I just created my own God.
Yeah. Well, that's what they encourage you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the road that I take.
So what if I told you right now that I hated religion with a passion, would you believe me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I do. I hate religion. And people that know I'm a Christian, they say, well, wait a minute. Isn't Christianity a religion?
Isn't it?
Yes, it is. But I think it's something, it's much more than that, the reality of it. And I think that to say it's a religion is exactly what you were just talking about. Like religions fail. Religion means, you have somebody who's religious and they go to church on Sundays, but then you see them the rest of the week and they're doing every sin that their book says, right? 12 times a day. And you're like, well, what are you doing? Oh, well, I go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
To me, that's religion. That's just somebody who's going to church on Sundays because they think it's going to get them some kind of penance points or something.
Yeah.
To where, for me, and I know this is so cliche to say this, that Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship, right? And you always hear that, and it's like, it sounds so cliche. But it's true. I mean, it's literally a relationship with God.
I think with yourself too.
In a sense.
So when you think of, do you?
Yes. Try, you're good.
Do you think of your relationship with God as like, hey, there's this higher being that I'm speaking to, and like this guy has the authority?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any room for like yourself?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, if you're asking if there's any room for my own wants and desires, is that kind of what you're asking? Or because ideally in Christianity, true Christianity, it's a surrender, right? You get to a point where you realize you can't do it, right? Like you're trying to achieve happiness, you're trying to achieve joy, you're trying to achieve righteousness per se, right? You're trying to be good, right? Like all these things, you're trying to live up to this standard, and you just never can, you know. And you get to the point of surrender where you say, well, okay, I can't, and then the Lord says, you're right, you need me, right? And so at that point, I think, yeah, it's a surrender, and now, as the Bible presents it, He purchases you. A lot of people don't like that. Well, I'm my own person. What do you know? And I would say, well, then you're not ready, because if that's the kind of person you are, So in other words, it would be like for me in my life, I need to seek Him out above my own desires. Do I always do that? No. Do I give in to my own desires a lot? Yeah, sure do. Ryan wants to do this today. God's going, no, Ryan, I want you over here. No, sorry, I'm going over here.
And what is that? What does He want you to do, and what do you say no to?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, I think, so Christianity presents that we get saved, right? That's the terminology. Jesus indwells you, right? Probably getting way weird on you right now. So he indwells you, and now He's living inside you, and I make decisions on whether or not I'm going to give into my flesh or I'm going to give into the spiritual side, right? Monks, for example, I'm not saying they're Christian, but they nail this. They deny all flesh. They say, I'm not going to give into any flesh. I'm going to go off on a mountainside somewhere. I'm going to sit there for 20 hours a day, and I'm going to meditate and focus on the Lord, right? That's kind of the concept. I'm not saying that's what we're supposed to do. I'm not saying that, but every day, that's kind of what I should be doing. I should be saying, all right, Lord, where do you want me today? Where do you want me to be doing? And of course, I don't hear a voice from heaven. Ryan, I want you to go to the mall, and then I want you to talk to this guy that's over by Hot Dog on a Stick, and then I want you, no, it's not like that. And that's what makes it difficult. And the more that I grow closer to the Lord in my relationship, which is through studying His Word and praying and all that kind of stuff, I get to know Him better, and then I'm better able to make those decisions. But I don't know. I don't know. It's like, well, I know for sure the Lord wants me to go here. In fact, when a Christian tells me that, I don't trust them anymore.
Yeah.
They say, I know for sure the Lord wants me, I mean, there's been times in hindsight where I could say that. When I'm somewhere and doing something or whatever, and then something happens, and I look back and I say, okay, obviously the Lord had me there for a reason. Something happened or whatever, but never beforehand. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, who knows?
Yeah.
But
I see that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
But it's not personable to you in any way, like your relationship with, would you even call it a relationship?
No, I don't think I really give the mist anything. I don't think.
Okay. But does it give you anything? It's a one-sided relationship.
It's a pretty one-sided relationship. Okay. I'm just here.
Yeah. You're just here to receive and to take.
Yeah.
Like a leech. But back, okay, so real quick, I'm curious, like, do you hold to like an evolutionary worldview? You think we all got here by evolution? I
mean, science makes sense. I think it's a pretty good explanation. I like the whole thing about like your God not having any time. Like, I think the two can exist. Yeah, He created the world, and yeah, evolution happened.
Yeah, I think they could exist. I agree. I think that
together,
but you would have to have God creating the first amoeba, right? Like you'd have to go back as far as you could in the evolutionary list and say, okay, whatever the first creation was, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, but let's say it was that amoeba. And you say, well, who created the amoeba? Right? And you say, well, the amoeba became a fish, and a fish became a chicken, and a chicken became a lizard, and a lizard became,
man.
Yeah. Well, then an ape or some form of primate, and then us, right?
I skipped a few steps there.
You did, yeah. But I'm sure I did too. But then you go back to the evolutionary. An evolutionary person would normally say that amoeba, and this is me assuming that's the first life form, just sprang out of nothing. It just appeared one day. That amoeba appeared, and then the evolutionary process started. That's what I would disagree with, because I have a hard time rationalizing how that can happen.
Yeah, it's too spontaneous.
Well, it's too design oriented. It's too creation. I mean, it's a something, right? Like I'm going to go over some ground I've already gone over on here, but just for so you can understand where I'm coming from. Anything you look at that's in your life, anything, like you look around this room, you look at the table. Let's take the table. Okay. If I told you the table just appeared here one day, you'd say that's stupid, because you know that a builder built the table, right? You don't know the builder.
Yeah.
You don't know his name. You don't know what he looks like. You don't know anything about him or her. Maybe it's a woman. Who knows? But you know that somebody built this.
Yeah.
It would be ludicrous to think otherwise, right? And you could say that about anything in here, but the true evolutionary theory would tell you, if this was part of the evolutionary table, then they would say that no, one day, some wood was flying through the air, and then it smacked into some glue, and then and wow, there's a table, right? And you think, oh, that's dumb. But then you look at like the complexities of the human life. You look at, just take DNA.
Yeah.
Look at the complexities of DNA, right?
Epigenetics.
There you go.
Okay.
We brought it back for you.
Cool. So epigenetics is the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work.
Okay. So
is that, maybe that wasn't a good segue.
No. Well, I mean, you mean, does it directly relate what we were just saying?
Yeah.
Not directly.
Not directly.
But it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because that does have somewhat to do with evolution, right? Because my whole thing with evolution, and there's a movie called Evolution versus God. I don't know if you ever saw it. There's a guy named Ray Comfort. He's from New Zealand, and he goes around and he's trying to find proof of evolution, like Darwinian evolution, molecules to man. Like, do you know the difference between like macro evolution versus micro, right? Like macro is molecules to man, basically what we just described, a chicken to a lizard to all the way up to man, right?
Because it's gone through so many phases.
That's macro.
Okay.
Micro would be like Darwin's finches, where their beaks have changed over time so that they can get into the seeds better and they can eat. The whole survival of the fittest. The giraffe that's got the longest neck is obviously going to live longer because the food's up in the trees. All the stubby giraffes are going to die out because they can't eat unless somebody helps them eat, right?
Yeah.
That all makes total sense. That's microevolution. No problem. Most Christians have no problem with microevolution. So he's going around and he's asking people, and he's going to like UCLA, he's going to like all these big biology schools where it's evolutionary theories taught real big. And he's asking these PhD scientists, can you show me proof of evolutionary, Darwinian evolution? And every single time they say, well, of course. And he says, oh, great. And he gives them the mic, and they start saying, well, first of all, there's the finches on the Galapagos, how their beaks, and he immediately takes the microphone back. He goes, no. I mean Darwinian evolution, not adaptation. Because he goes, and he asks him, he goes, is it still a bird? And the guy goes, well, yeah, it's still a bird. He goes, no, that's not what I'm asking. I agree with that. I agree that birds change into different forms of the same bird. Like certain parts of that bird change.
Birds.
They're still birds.
Yeah.
Or you look at all these different things, and that's what Darwin saw in the Galapagos. He saw adaptation.
Yeah.
He saw, the iguanas, their nails have changed or whatever. Okay, still an iguana. It's not like an iguana became an ostrich.
Right.
I mean, that's not happening as far as anybody can see.
So you think that God created everything specifically the way it's supposed to be? The different...
Originally, yes. I believe, and it's what the Bible teaches, that in 6 days of creation, God created different things every day. I believe it was day 6 that he created man, I believe. And a lot of the mammals were created on day 6. And I think at that time, they were perfect. There was no death, there was no disease, there was no suffering of any kind. It was perfect.
So we created that.
Until the fall. Until Genesis 3, where Adam and Eve eat the fruit, and sin enters the world, death enters the world. It says thorns enter the world. All that stuff happens at that point. But yes, I don't believe that God created evolution. I was just saying that would make more sense to me than the idea that evolution just sprang out of nothing. So I would have a better time believing in a theory that said, yeah, amoeba became a fish and a fish to a chicken, blah, 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 as long as God started that process at some point down the line.
Yeah.
Because to me, there has to be some kind of an intelligence behind that, because you don't, again, the table doesn't just create itself.
Yeah.
Somebody with intelligence said, okay, it's going to need 4 legs and it's going to need this,
Is there a Y?
A Y.
Why?
Y chromosomes? Only in men.
Right.
You mean, is there a why behind why God created?
Yeah. Is there
Sure.
a purpose?
Oh, sure.
A reason?
Yeah, sure there is.
Oh, but you don't know it.
No. I mean, I have.
You don't have all the answers?
I don't have hardly any of them,
Dude,
actually. But I mean, that's always that's the questions I get a lot. Is people. My aunt was big on this. She'd always be like, well, okay, but Ryan, why? Why did God do this? Why did God not do that? Why? I said, got me.
He's God.
Yes.
He knows. Ask him.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to. But I mean, I think if you study scripture and you read through the Bible, you'll see that God created us in his image. He created us to be like him, not to be God, but to be created in his image, for us to love him and to worship him. And then people say, well, that sounds like a pretty egotistical God. He creates all these people just so they can worship him.
Yeah.
But I mean, you also look at what you're getting in return. I mean, if it's true, then you...
So you think that you have to earn what you get by...
No, I think you have to receive the free gift that God's giving you. And then if you don't, then you're going to head where you're going anyway.
How is it free if you have to worship too?
You don't have to worship. I'm saying I think that's a byproduct. I think you have to receive. I like the illustration of, and you're going to like this one. It's going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So that, being sarcastic. But there's a river. We're all born into a river that's flowing into hell.
Oh, that's nice.
Beautiful picture.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jesus is on the shore.
Definitely feel warm.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, hell's warm. Jesus is on the shore. He's reaching his hand out to anyone
who wants
that will take it.
Yeah.
To pull them out of that river so that they can spend eternity with him and not continue down the road that their sin is going to take them to. Okay. But the free choice is you can say, stick it. I'll take it on my own. I don't need your help. Jesus, I'm out of here. He's going to let you go. He's not going to jump in there and grab you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That would violate your free will.
Yeah. So we're born into this river. So we're already living in sin by the time we're born. Why is that? Why do we start there?
Bible answers that one.
Okay.
Because when Adam sinned, that brought sin into the world. And the sin nature, which we're all born with, is passed on through the man. Because it's in the seed of man. So whenever man and woman have sex, he implants the seed, right? That's whatever creation happens in there because of that, sin nature. Which explains why Jesus didn't have one. Because he was an immaculate conception. He didn't have an earthly father. Joseph was not his biological father. It says Mary conceived of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, especially if your mom grew up Catholic. So that's the answer to that. But I mean, all this centers on if it's true or not.
Yeah.
All that centers on, is the Bible even true?
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think happens after death?
I think that for those that receive Christ, and I'm going to get back to the religion thing, the word religion in a sec too, because that's a good what you just said. I think that every person who's received Christ will spend eternity with him in heaven. And I think those that do not will be in hell. It has nothing to do with what you do. It has nothing to do with how good you are or not good you are. I think there's some wonderful people on this planet that will never receive Christ. And I think there's some people like Jeffrey Dahmer. People don't want to talk about that, but he supposedly, I don't know his heart, I don't know for sure, but supposedly he received Christ before he died. People have a hard time with that. Like, wait a minute, you're telling me that Jeffrey Dahmer might be in heaven while my sweet grandma Lucinda is going to be in hell simply because she didn't receive Christ? If the Bible's true, yes. If it's not true, then no. But I want to get back to religion real quick, because that's why I was very specific, and I said, you say what happens when you die. I didn't say that those that are Christian. And the reason I don't use that terminology is because there's a lot of people that might be Christian, meaning they go to a Christian church, they read their Christian Bible sometimes, but they could be those kind of people like you were saying. They just go on Sunday. It's not real. Yeah, it's not real to them. There's no real relationship there. They don't really care about God or anything that he has to say. They're just going to church because their parents went to church, or because they were told to go to church, or they think it's going to get them some kind of rewards, like you were saying. And those people are called Christians as well. So that's why I try to distinguish. It's like, I'll either say genuine Christianity, which that rubs people the wrong way too. But anyway, my sermon's now over, so go ahead and you can add to that now. I feel like I've been talking way too much about that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I've been treating this like an interview.
Right.
Like I should ask more.
Yeah. I'm more interested in your story than mine, so.
My story.
Yeah. I like where we're going with the purple mist. That was interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm curious why, and this is where I kind of want to go with, and then we'll probably wrap up with that because we're getting close. What do you believe led you to your feelings right now on there not being a God? Like, in other words, everything I'm describing to you about what I believe, who God is and all that, when you hear that, you obviously don't go, "Boy, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. Sign me up, Ryan, right now. Where do I sign?" Right? You're not saying that.
Give me a Bible.
Yeah, right, exactly. Send me out of here floating on a cloud with a halo on my head. I'm ready to go. So what do you think is it in either in your own life or just in your own personal beliefs on that subject that makes you not like that idea or some of those ideas?
I think it's my upbringing. So you talk about surrender. I don't like the idea of surrendering. I think we should take more control in our lives, and with that responsibility, accountability for the way that we move in the world. And yeah, so my whole thing, with the mist, I think it stems from a relationship with myself. And that might be egotistical too. Like I am a part of the mist, and the mist is there, and it's helping me through here. I think it because of the way that I grew up, I had to trust myself and depend on myself. Having the mist be a part of me helps me have trust in myself to continue to have that.
Sure.
Even when horrible things happen. So I talked earlier about how, I think things are meant to be. Some people hate that saying because there's things like rape and other dark things so that was I was meant to be attacked in that way. Is that what you're saying, kind of thing?
That's not what I would say.
I
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that was meant to happen. Like God wants that to happen.
Yeah.
But that would describe a uncaring, unpersonable God. Mm-hmm. That, let's say because some people say, well, God created everything and then he just backed up and he doesn't care. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care what's going on down there. That means that as he's watching a man rape a 2-year-old, that he's sitting there going, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care at all. Which as humans, we're like, oh my gosh. Like most people, if they saw that happening, they'd go over there and immediately try to stop that in whatever way they could.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. So I've lost all words.
I was going to add, I have a friend who kind of has a similar view. Mm-hmm. He doesn't call it the purple mist, but he calls it the universe, or he'll say, and when you were just saying that you're a part of the mist, like he described it to me this way. He says, well, he'd say we're all part of God, because he uses the word God. He believes in God, but he thinks God is everything and everything is God, right? Like it's all part of this big cloud or mist of things. And he would say, and I'd say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like you're saying that God is this table. He goes, yeah. God is the floor. Yeah. God is me. Yeah. I said, no, I can't. I'm not God. And I said, well, how do you distinguish the God and then us, who you are also calling God? He says, well, look at the ocean. So, okay. He goes, and now look at some drops of water. I said, okay. He says, now the ocean's huge, right? It's water. So are those 3 little drops. He says, we're like those drops.
Yeah.
And God's like the ocean.
I like that.
Thought you might. That's why I shared it with you. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah. I think everything is intertwined. Everything's meant to be that way. We're all meant to interact and contribute to each other's lives.
Right. In a good way.
In a good way. I mean, bad shit happens.
Right.
And lessons can be learned from that. And some people grow through really hard times.
Right. Right. So when you use the terms good and bad, how do you determine what's good and what's bad?
The way that it affects you. Because 2 people can have the same experience and one person can say, that wasn't anything to me.
Right.
And another person is like, well, that is a defining moment in my life.
Right. But or it could be the same experience could be good for one person and bad for another. To use a weird example, go back to rape.
Okay.
For the rapist, that's a great experience.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's sick, but it's true, which is why he's doing what he's doing. He's not doing it because he doesn't want to do it. He wants to do it because he's getting pleasure out of it somehow, sickly. But the person who's being raped, that's the worst experience they could ever have. Right? So that's interesting.
It is.
But you would call, just because he sees it as good, you wouldn't say it's good. Do you see what I'm saying? So I guess I always go back. That's the other question I ask, kind of an atheistic mind. I think you said that, right? You consider yourself an atheist?
I did not say that.
Okay. You said you don't believe in God.
I don't.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah.
You're more agnostic, maybe?
Yes.
Like you're open to the idea, you just don't believe it yet. Okay, you're undecided.
Undecided.
So...
Well...
You're like, well, I don't know about it. I don't want that. I don't want that label. I'm undecided. I've decided that I don't know. That's what I've decided. Right?
I'm good on that.
Okay.
I don't know right now.
Okay.
I'm open to change in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would like wonder, as far like, and as I said, I usually ask this to those that don't believe in God at all, or just ask about morality, and you say, what is good and bad? Right? Like you would say rape is bad. I would say rape is bad too, just for the record. And, but then I would ask you why.
I think because you're imposing your wants on someone else.
Right.
Someone who does not want to be a part of that.
Right.
And part of it is you get pleasure from that. Like that's
pleasure from someone else's pain.
Yeah.
But why is that? Why is that wrong?
Why is that wrong? Why is it wrong?
Do you see what I'm saying?
I think it goes back to how we're all connected. Like,
She answered for you.
Yeah.
Missy's like, take that. But I mean, you kind of see what I'm saying. Like if you were to ask me that, Ryan, why do you say rape's wrong? I could say, well, because God says so.
Oh.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like I have a moral standard that I can go back to.
Yeah.
Because you might just say, well, because I believe it's wrong. And I would say, I believe you that you believe it's wrong.
Yeah.
But do you really have any other standard than that? Because the guy doing it, he doesn't think it's wrong. So does his belief that it's not wrong make it not wrong? Of course not.
Right.
No more than your belief that it is wrong makes it wrong. It's not your belief that it's wrong that makes it wrong. It already is wrong.
Yeah.
Whether you believe it is or not. So, and I think that's something that only comes from, I think morality has to come from some intelligent, loving, caring something, because otherwise he wouldn't care, which mean we wouldn't care either. We wouldn't see rape as wrong. We wouldn't see murder as wrong. We wouldn't see stealing as wrong. Why would we?
I took a philosophy class and we talked about morals, and I would love to still have all of that knowledge.
Yeah. What school?
Hancock.
Who was the teacher? Fisher?
I don't know.
Klaus Fisher?
Maybe actually.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds familiar.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty chill.
I took a philosophy class with him before I was a Christian, actually. And it was interesting. Because I agreed with almost everything that he was saying. It's like, yeah, right on, man. But I love philosophy. I love, that's part of the reason why I like doing this.
Yeah.
I love talking about it and just saying, what about this? I've always been a questioner, driving people nuts my whole life. Well, but what about this? What about that? But yeah, if there's Fisher, he's like world renowned, that guy. He's like written a bunch of books, and
I didn't know that.
I don't know if he's still there or not. Well, it's probably pretty recent for you if you're 20. What was it, last semester before?
I took the class in my junior year of high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Quite the smarty, huh?
Am I really smart if I don't still have it there? Because
well, I don't know. I don't know. That's the retaining is a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I can remember song lyrics.
Yeah.
From 1984, 1985 or something when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
To the T. Like the song comes on the radio, I can sing the whole thing. But I can't remember a conversation I had with somebody yesterday. You know what I mean? Like.
I'm okay, so I can remember conversations pretty well, word for word. Like I can spit things back at people, but lyrics I have problems with.
Oh, how funny!
Yeah, it's a mystery. What ends up sticking in there,
isn't it?
It is.
I wonder. I think it's because the younger we are, the more formative. I think you remember certain things. That's the only thing I can remember. That, and maybe as your brain gets older, its ability to retain gets less. I don't think that's true of everybody.
I think I read too that it's about new experiences. The more new experiences you have,
pushes the old ones out.
Yeah. Well, no. That as you get older, you have less new experiences. So I guess it's like you have less experience with remembering new things. Right. Yeah. Does
makes
that make
sense? Yeah,
okay.
It makes sense. I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Let's ask God on
yeah, you should.
This line.
Yeah. All right, well, final question. And go wherever you want with it. What do you see as the biggest issue facing our world/country right now? Like if you could fix anything, if you could change anything in our world, as you were magical and you had all power, you could just change anything, what would it be?
I would like to be able to wipe, that's so funny that I expected you to finish that for me.
Oh, the past?
Not the past.
People off the earth? Wipe off all your enemies?
Start from new.
How do you want me to finish that for you?
I'm thinking like back to prejudice and bias.
Okay.
So expectations, white people's expectations. It's, I think, like when we see people, we make instant judgments based on what we see. And a lot of that is subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all formed on our experiences. And yeah, so if we could.
So like there's the term colorblind that goes around. They say people should be colorblind. But then there's a whole side of that like, people say, don't be colorblind. You don't want to be colorblind.
Like race?
Right. Like in other words, I mean, I guess colorblind's kind of broad, but just appearance blind.
Uh-huh.
Like what you're saying is if we could just view people for who they are on the inside and only who they are on the inside without any kind of bias based on what they look like in any way, whether it's gender, whether it's skin color, whether it's whatever.
Well, I think if we approach things as new, it gives us we're more open-minded that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you approach people as new, like just because when you're colorblind, when you don't see color, you're choosing not to see an integral part of somebody.
Is it integral though?
I think it's integral.
How so?
Because
how is it a part of who they are?
Our experiences are so different, and I think color affects that, our experiences.
So you're saying that I should see it because I need to realize that maybe somebody doesn't look like me had different experiences than I did because of what they look like and because of what I look like.
Yeah. I mean, we all relate on different levels. So I mean.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
I guess I always think back like there was a thing that Morgan Freeman said on 60 Minutes. I think it was 60 Minutes a long time ago. And he was being asked about Black History Month. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Did you see this? Yeah, it's like a viral
Yeah,
thing.
he was like, stop bringing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he says, I don't want a Black History Month. And the guy says, you don't. And Morgan Freeman goes, do you want a White History Month? Mm-hmm. And the guy goes, well, no, of course not. He goes, well, then why would I want a Black History Month? Mm-hmm. He goes, American history is Black history. Mm. He goes, it's all intertwined. It's like, it's not, there's not one or the other. And I was like, whoa, but then he says, the guy asked him, well, how do we get rid of the racism? Mm-hmm. He goes, we stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. He goes, I don't want you to see me as Morgan Freeman, the black man. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to see you as whatever the guy's name was, the white man.
Yeah.
It should be, I want to see you as who you are. And you see me as Morgan Freeman. That's it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that I think that it's almost impossible to do that because it's hard not to notice the differences. But you probably believe this about yourself. I think most people believe this about ourselves. I believe this about myself. Mm-hmm. I don't think what a person looks like bears any influence on how I treat that person.
Oh yeah.
I just don't. I think that I really don't care. I have black friends. I have Hispanic friends. I have Asian friends. I have white friends. I have women friends. I have gay friends. I have no problem with that, right? Like I don't look at it like that. But if you're going to say, do you subconsciously notice that person is black? Well, of course.
Yeah.
How can you not notice?
Yeah.
Right? Like, of course I'm going to notice, but I think the more important question is that going to affect how I treat them or how I view them?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, now we have a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Uh-huh.
Because that's racism anytime.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways. It could even be if a Hispanic person looks at me and has a preconceived, even saying, oh, that guy's white, he must have white privilege. Mm-hmm. That guy's white, he must hate me because I'm Hispanic. Mm-hmm. That's also the same thing. You're reversing it now and you're viewing me. I'm thinking, I don't hate you because of you being Hispanic. I got no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Because I think I think we should be colorblind in a sense. I'm not saying we should like forget all the history, forget all the culture, because that's what's beautiful about America, right? You have all the cultures here, got all the good foods from everywhere. We got all the different dress. We got all the different, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you'd fix, huh? How would you fix it?
How would I fix it?
Yep.
Like Thanos, a snap of the finger.
Yeah, just make everybody if you could somehow put the formula in there and say everybody who's racist, just make them, disintegrate like an Endgame.
Uh-huh.
No, Endgame. Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah. Spoilers. More spoilers.
Yeah. If I can make them disappear. I mean, I think the world would be a way better place. But at the same time, like that, we kind of need those people.
How so? That's an interesting thing to say.
Because I think it's unfair to only keep the good.
Unfair to who? To the bad? By getting rid of them, that would be unfair.
You're making an interesting face.
Well, it's an interesting thing you said. That's interesting what you said.
I think it's unfair. It's unfair to stifle it, to not let it exist.
Mm-hmm. Like evil?
Evil, yeah. So I've heard before that bad experiences can be positive to our lives because we can learn in reverse.
Yes.
So I think in that way it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. I agree completely.
Yeah.
Because what we view as bad, again, we get back to bad and good and what determines that, right?
Yeah.
What we see as a bad experience, like it could be the most horrible thing we've ever gone through. Mm-hmm. Hardest thing. We're just miserable. But a lot of times on the other side of that, you look back on it and you're thankful for it. Mm-hmm. There's a lady who does the public motivational speaking or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when she was like 8, she was a diver. When she was 18, she dove and she hit her head, broke her neck, basically. And she paralyzed from the neck down. I believe the neck down. Maybe just the waist down, but I think it's the neck down. Mm-hmm. For her whole life. She goes around and speaks to people, and she thanks God that happened to her.
Really?
You're like, why? Like, why? Like, that sounds crazy. Like, why would you do that? Or the surfer guy that was born with like no arms and legs.
Oh, really?
Nick Vujicic? Something. I'm totally getting his name wrong. I think his first name's Nick.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's the same thing. He goes around and he's a Christian guy, and he goes around and he speaks and he tells everybody he's so thankful to the Lord that he was born this way. Crazy, right?
Does he ever say why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just because it helps him. It's caused him to rely on the Lord more.
Okay.
Same thing that the girl would say.
Okay.
In our weaknesses is when you talk about surrendering, right? Mm-hmm. You never will want to surrender until you think you need to, right? You'll never rely on the Lord until you feel like you have to.
Hit rock bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We just don't. It's not natural for us in the human. We want to do it all ourselves. We want to try our hardest, give it our all. We can do it. I don't need any help from anybody. That starts when we're little kids. I raised 4 kids. They're all the same at that age. You try to help them and they get to an age like, no, I do it myself. I do it myself. And it's like, okay, you do it yourself.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
Go for it. You're gonna have to learn someday. Right. But I mean, it's just kind of in our nature. But anyway. All right. Was that painless? I know you're worried about it.
I still am worried about it. I don't.
What do you mean? We're all done. That was easy. No?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Words don't come easy to me.
Yeah. No, you did fine.
I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, please tell somebody new. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, you can contact me at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. You should also join the Facebook group, Why Can't We Talk About That Podcast, and share your thoughts on the topics that we've been discussing in these episodes. Now here's a clip from next week's episode.
When I was, I think around high school or college, I noticed that I was seeing more Asians in commercials. I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't see any Asians when I was a kid in commercials. I didn't see any. I was like, this is great. We're starting to make some headway.
Right.
Now that's all you see. And I don't like that. You'd think I'd be ecstatic, but now I don't like that at all. I'm like, no.
You're like, no more Asians.
Yeah, like it felt earned. It felt we had earned that. We were making our way with our own steam. We were getting in it because we earned it. I'm like, this is great. I don't want that handed to us. It has no value. And I hate to say that because those are my people. Like I should be celebrating that. I'm just and I'm just annoyed.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, here we go. Now nothing feels special.
Right.
It just feels just handed.
Yeah.